Donald Trump is suing CBS News for $10 billion. Yeah, that's right. It's a silly number, I guess, but he is. And this has to do with CBS creating, I guess we can put it at a baseline, two different versions of the Kamala Harris interview that he argues was selectively edited to benefit Kamala Harris because she looked real bad. You see, they put out snippets from the interview. Everybody roasted Kamala. Then they edited it and changed how she responded. Trump says this is basically election interference, and for this, he is suing. So we'll talk about that. Then Joe Biden bit a bunch of babies. I'm not kidding. He literally was biting babies. I think he bit two of them. I will stress this again, ladies and gentlemen.
It's true.
Yeah, he bit two babies. You may be thinking, haha, it's Halloween. Tim's doing a joke or something. No, he bit babies. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, J.D. Vance appeared on Joe Rogan. I only got to watch a little bit of it, but it was pretty good. So we'll get to all that news, my friends, and then we'll check the polls. Before we get started, head over to mypillow.com/Tim, because I know you need pillows. Once again, MyPillow has been canceled by another box store. So they are passing an incredible offer to our listeners. The standard MyPillow retails for $49.98. And now for a limited time, you will receive one for only $14.98. There's a limit of 10 on this offer. Do not miss out on this amazing deal while supplies last. Order now using promo code TIM. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position, helps keep your neck aligned, and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel set only $25, brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code TIM, mypillow.com/Tim, and support Mike Lindell. But also, don't forget, Timcast.com. Head over there now, click Join Us. Become a member to support our work directly. If you're looking for friends, place to hang out, maybe you want to meet some people who have similar ideas or you want to challenge your ideas, the Discord server is the place to be. So you become a member at timcast.com. You get access to our Discord server. And as a member, you also get to call in to our members-only uncensored show, and we will have that for you tonight. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know, and leave us a good review on the audio podcast side if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may get your podcasts. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Joel Valdez.
Hey everyone, it's Joel Valdez. Great to be back on the show. As you can tell, this isn't my normal wear. I am dressed as Steve Bannon for Halloween. So I got the 3 pens, I got the 3 shirts, I got the barber. Great. It is slightly hot in the studio, but
it's hot.
We'll make it.
It is very hot.
Bannon does it every day, day in, day out. For those who don't know me, I'm a senior advisor to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert on Capitol Hill, previously with Rep. Matt Gaetz, and just excited to be back on. Thanks for having me.
We had the heat turned on because it was like 30 degrees last week, and now it was 80 today. So we had to turn the air conditioning back on. That's fall. Seamus is hanging out.
Good to be here. I'm Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes. We just released a cartoon today, which is one of my personal favorites. I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's about Doug. It's about Kamala's wonderful husband who's reshaping masculinity. And I just really want you all to check that one out. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Tell me there's a training montage.
I don't even know that one. Listen, I don't want to spoil anything. But I think it's pretty good.
Like the Rocky montage, right? Lifting weights, getting ready for the big fight against his girlfriend. How you doing? My name's Philip Bonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Here's the big news from Axios.com. Trump sues CBS News for $10 billion.
With a B.
That's a B. Over Harris interview. Now, you may have heard the story because the corporate press was lying about it. Well, that's what they do. They said Donald Trump wanted to arrest CBS News arrested because interviewing Kamala was illegal. Of course, that is not what Donald Trump said. What Trump said was that the selective editing, the different versions that were released, were in essence aiding Kamala Harris. The first clips of the interview that came out made her look really bad. Maybe they didn't realize, I don't know, but she looked pretty bad. They then released a totally different response. According to the lawsuit, this is election interference. Axios says former President Trump filed a lawsuit against CBS News Thursday, alleging the network engaged in election interference by doctoring 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Harris. Trump is seeking $10 billion in damages for CBS alleged partisan and lawful acts of election and voter interference, which the lawsuit claims were intended to confuse the public and attempt to tip the scales towards Democrats in the 2024 presidential election. Lawsuit was first reported by Fox News. So we actually have it right here. This is the Scribd jury trial demanded. And it says this action concerns CBS's partisan unlawful acts. And let's go down a little bit and get the actual claims here. On October 20th, 2024, attempting unsuccessfully to stop the bad press without providing transparency, CBS News released a statement conceding that President Trump was accurate in his assertion that the interview with Kamala was doctored to confuse, deceive, and mislead the American people in order to try and interfere in the election on behalf of Kamala. As President Trump stated, and as made crystal clear in the video he referenced and attached, a giant fake news scam by CBS and 60 Minutes. Her real answer was crazy or dumb, so they actually replaced it with another answer in order to save her or at least make her look better. A fake news scam, which is totally illegal. Take away the CBS license. Now I have to wonder, maybe CBS did this not because of what Kamala said, but because of how it made them look as a news organization.
What do you mean?
They had a bomb of an interview. I mean, imagine you're like, we're going to sit down with the sitting vice president. And she just goes, people are going to be like, this is the worst garbage I've ever seen. How could you produce this?
Yeah.
So what if CBS was like, we need to make this more appealing?
Well, and especially if you don't push back sufficiently. So if this person is giving ridiculous non-answers and babbling on and they refuse to say anything about their actual policy positions and they generally sound moronic, and then you just sit there and don't push back against anything they're saying, it does look pretty bad for you. Or even worse, you pretend that what they're saying is compelling. I mean, Kamala Harris is very used to having her hand held by corporate media and being spoken to in the most gentle possible terms. This is why she considered it such an insult and why her fans considered it such an insult for Joe Rogan to not give her special treatment relative to Trump. To them, if they're not getting special treatment, they're being persecuted. So look, everyone knew that if anyone in the corporate press talked to her, they were going to baby her. And that's clearly what happened here. Though, to your point, Tim, if it was because they were embarrassed by their own performance, that wouldn't entirely shock me either.
To your point about about having her handheld and stuff, you saw that pretty clearly on display when she did the Brett Baer interview, and she was like essentially asking him to throw her a lifeline when she was like, you know what I mean, and he was just like,
Yeah.
no,
Did you hear
I don't know what you mean.
Did you hear what Rogan said? That, and I'm trying to paraphrase it because I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure what he was saying was that he knew if he traveled to her for the interview, her handlers would be in the room controlling how the show went. And I'll add to that, he wouldn't be able to pull up or fact check anything she says. So they knew they couldn't come in and sit down. See, here's the thing. Why does Kamala Harris go to call her daddy and Shannon Sharp at Breakfast Club? They don't fact check anything.
Exactly.
Rogan in real time says, Jamie, pull that up.
Well, and
It would be interesting to see if CBS says that they interview other people's interviews as well. I'm sorry, if they edit other people's interviews as well. Well, what would be the precedent for them to be doing this? Say, was it only Kamala or was it other people as well? That's something else to consider.
That might have to be their only defense. No, we do this all the time for everybody.
Oh, we had everyone's interview.
Yeah, it's all fake news.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. It's true. And to your point about her not wanting to be fact-checked, what her and other left-wing candidates do is they will just smugly state that something is misinformation or has been debunked, even when it hasn't, and oftentimes without ever providing a source for that claim.
Actually, Seamus, that claim has been debunked already.
Oh, no. All right, you got me. That makes it true.
I have no proof.
When you call something debunked, that means it isn't true. That's all you have to say.
That's right.
Yep.
And so it would be very embarrassing for her to plainly and arrogantly state that something was debunked and then have Joe pull the information up in front of her. Kamala can't respond to basic questions such as, how many people do you think have entered the country? She would completely crumble if she was fact-checked on air and shown to be wrong.
That's why she won't answer.
Exactly. Exactly. But there's this other hilarious phenomenon we see with these left-wing pundits where they'll go, this is insane. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump said they didn't like the fact-checking at the debate. They speak about fact-checking as if there are these arbiters of truth who are totally non-biased and not bought into one side or the other when they clearly are all leftists who work for the corporate press or are adjacent to them. And then they act as if we have just found these oracles of pure truth who are going to fact-check everyone equally, and it's nonsense. People since the beginning of time have been claiming that their opponents said things that are factually incorrect.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, when you use this phrase, fact check, they fact checked him, it just shuts down all thinking. Oh, it was a fact checker? A fact checker said it? That's true. It must be true. How could it be the guy? He's a fact checker. He says that he has the label. They gave him this label, fact checker. He checks the facts. He's right. Why disagree?
It's all fake though, because people on the right have tried to create fact-checking organizations. It doesn't change anything. The left is a cult, and people on the right need to stop trying to suck up to these cult members.
That's right.
Like it's the same thing with the Ryan James Gurdusky thing. Dude, I could have predicted this when he got offered a gig at CNN. Like, we all know where this is going. The cult is going to start bucking like chickens, hooting and screaming the moment you say anything out of line with their deranged worldview.
Yeah, being familiar with Ryan's content, I was surprised that he lasted that long. But it was good while it lasted. I mean, it was interesting I do actually like Abby Phillips' show on CNN. But
why?
It was, I just find it more interesting than some of the other left-wing slop that's on CNN.
So it's a low bar. But I hear
it is a low bar. It is a low bar.
The
but
bar is very low. Maybe underground.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the way that they kicked him off the show was just totally stupid.
But this is, I mean, this is the other thing too with the double standards we see in politics right now. Whenever legal action is taken against Trump, the fact that legal action was taken is proof that he's guilty of something. Whenever Trump or any Republican takes legal action against somebody else, that's lawfare and they're bullying.
Well, this is true for literally everything, though. I mean, for the longest time, anytime someone's accused of a crime, it's proof they did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people at J6, there are people who lost their jobs just for being indicted. There was nothing was proven. Doesn't matter anymore.
That's clearly a feature of the age of social media. Whereas if you hear something, that's enough for you to say, oh, I don't like that person, and so I'm sure they did it. And, whether it be whichever side, it doesn't really matter. The presumption of innocence has entirely evaporated in the United States. And, I mean, that's a significant problem, because the presumption of innocence is it's not only is it foundational to our legal system, but it also speaks to a high trust society. It's like we assume that people are generally good. And if we don't assume that, you're going to continue to see the degradation of trust in other people in your society. And that's part of the reason why you have to have more and more laws. If you have a society that's high trust, you have to have authority to push to make people do things, as opposed to you have a society where people just generally do the right thing. Then you don't need as many laws to tell people what they have to do. People are free to do what they want to do because you can trust them to be generally good people.
Now, another thing I think is interesting about all of this is not just the fact that CBS edited this. It shouldn't shock us that they would be carrying water for the Democratic candidate in an election, especially when they're running against Donald Trump, who's the most evil, fascistic dictator who has ever lived. But it's the fact that they felt a need to edit her answers, right? I mean, that really does speak to something. I don't think that this is a new phenomena. I don't think the media lying for Democratic candidates is unprecedented by any stretch of the imagination. But the fact is, even they think that she's so unlikable and incompetent that they have to edit their answers. So this isn't actually revelatory on a moral level. We already know that these were immoral people and these were liars. This reveals that they believe they have a weak candidate here.
Indeed.
And that it feels political too. I mean, the content brain in me thinks that if she had such a bad interview, wouldn't you want to draw some of those eyeballs to your channel? Unless you just wanted to save Kamala.
I was watching some of the J.D. Vance on Rogan. The first 15 minutes are hilarious.
Yeah, it was cracking me up.
I know,
He just seems like a normal, relatable guy.
He told a story about he was in a plane and he's a senator, and he's like with my kid, and it's like people don't really know, but like you're kind of a senator, and then his kid dropped a cookie and then said, "Oh, expletive." And then it's just like everyone's looking around like, Senator, your son. It's a really funny story about, and it's wholesome too. It's like family and stuff.
Well, it wasn't just an expletive. It wasn't just, expletive. It was like, well, expletive. Like looks at his dad and says, well, expletive.
It was good. It was really good. The reason I bring that up is like, it is entertaining to watch J.D. Vance tell these stories. He's very normal. That's just it. And, watching it, he mentions like in 6 days, I think I'm going to win because I think they recorded it yesterday or whatever. But, or I guess technically we're going to get the data 6 days. Or, who knows? We're not going to have no idea. But vibe check. I don't see how Kamala Harris wins this. I can understand shadow campaign, but in any real sense, this is what Ryan Long was asking the other day. If Kamala Harris ends up winning, then what is your argument for how she won, how they won this time, how Democrats won? And I'm like, I got nothing. Like in 2020, I could make a bunch of arguments. People didn't like Trump. COVID was bad. They wanted to change parties. If Kamala Harris somehow wins this, I'm going to be like, literally nothing makes sense. Just like the polls, the prediction models, sentiment on the ground, Trump flags in Philadelphia, in Philly, in central Philly. I'm like, I can certainly understand people are going to vote for Kamala Harris, but if she wins, I'd be like, I have no idea how that happened.
Well, and if she does,
because Republicans are winning early voting as well too, and they've been ballot harvesting too.
In certain areas, yeah. But what I would say is this: if Kamala does win, I would explain it by saying not enough people voted. Like, we needed to get people out there to vote, and they didn't. So this is what I'm saying to everyone in the audience now, especially young men. Young men have to get out and vote.
Young men aren't voting right now. The data that's come back is that young men aren't voting.
Exactly, and that's a big problem.
Men in general are coming in way behind women in early voting.
And that's a massive problem because men are far more likely to vote Republican.
Yep.
So if you're a young man
Dudes are
watching this,
losers.
if you are a man watching this, get out and vote. You have to get out and vote because it is possible for her to win. And if she does win, it's going to be because so many men stayed home.
Yep.
What I'm saying is if young men get out and vote, they can actually turn this around. Like, they can save this country. We have so many issues right now. And it's funny because I see all these memes where people will post videos of guys fighting in wars. And they'll go like, oh, me and the boys when some girl votes for Kamala because Taylor Swift endorsed her.
That's right.
And like, that's funny. But honestly, bro, the reality is that if that happens, it's because you didn't get out there and cancel out the vote of someone who only voted because Taylor Swift told them to. So you know what you got to do? For every person who went out and voted because Taylor Swift said they should vote for someone, you got to go out there, you got to make sure you cancel their vote out.
The data that I've seen so far in some of these swing states, people have been tweeting about, is that men are not voting at large enough numbers right now. Women are outvoting men, and that's always been true, that women are high propensity voters and men are low propensity voters. And so, look, man, you know what I see? I suppose that might be it. If the data comes back and shows that women voted at like 5 to 10 points higher than guys, then I can understand, okay, well, that's how Kamala Harris won, I guess.
Exactly.
The women went in the voting booth, winked at each other, and then voted against their family's wishes.
Exactly.
So, you know, there you go.
So, fellas, get out there. You got to get out there and vote. You got to get out there and vote. Be a patriot. Be a real patriot.
Can we do a poll in chat? Can we get a 1 if you've already voted? And
Yeah, let's do that.
If you have not voted yet.
Yeah, and if you put a 2, you're going to be shamed. No, I'm kidding.
We're going to shame you.
And mods will ban.
Mods will ban. Yeah. You know what, man? People got to, you got to get out there and do it. But here's what I'm thinking. If Kamala Harris does win, then it's just like, okay, here come the hard times that have been predicted.
Yep.
And so I wonder what happens to a society where there are a lot of jobs women will not do. And then when the system starts breaking down, men will not do those jobs for other people. What happens then?
I mean, we're already starting to see that in so many ways. Yeah, we're already starting to see that in so many ways. Initially, you have the breakdown of the family.
Look at everybody saying they voted.
Oh, everyone's saying they voted? Well, that's,
A lot of people
I mean, listen, I'm happy to hear it.
Some 2s in there. It's a little bit
I see some 2s, but it's overwhelmingly 1s. I'm just saying,
I
like,
don't want to see any 2s, boys. Get out there and vote.
I would prefer a comfortable American society with wealth and technology. But I'm also just like, you know what, man, if the collapse comes, I'll just do what I got to do, I guess. But that means a lot of these guys who won't go vote and all these male feminists are going to be crying.
Bro, if you can't even get out and vote, how are you going to survive Kamala's America? How on earth are you going to survive the world war she's going to start if you can't even get out of your house and vote? Dude, you're done. Get out. Vote.
Yeah. I find that Kamala's Project 2021 kind of sucked. And I don't want to see her Project 2025. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean,
yes, that's right. When Kamala said that men need to be deported. We need to get rid of all the men. Boys, if you don't vote.
Did you see that video where they're like, oh, I'm too political for you? I'm sorry. I just don't know if I'm allowed to have a credit card in 7 days. Did you see those?
It's so ridiculous.
First of all, if you're that stupid, you should not be allowed to have a credit card right now. If you are that easy to trick, if somebody convinced you that you having a credit card 7 days from now hinges on who gets elected, I don't trust you with a credit card. So you know what? Maybe you're right.
But Seamus,
let me play the video.
The Avengers
Credit card without
endorsed
my
Kamala.
Oh, we're done then.
We're done.
We're done.
All right, you guys ready? All right, so we got this clip. It's like a montage of paranoid, delusional individuals, and they're claiming that Trump is going to, like, I don't know, ban women from owning credit cards. Here's the clip.
Not too political? My bad. I just don't know if I'll be able to own a credit card without my husband's permission in 7 days.
Oh, did I get too political? My bad. I just don't know if I want to get rid of overtime in 7 days.
Like, can I just pause real quick? 'Cause there's a lot of these.
They'll just say things.
They're just making things up.
There's no indication.
Trump comes out and he's like, I'm going to get rid of taxes on your overtime. And he goes, Trump said he's going to ban overtime.
This guy, he's like, look, am I too political? I want to know if I'm going to be able to own a dog. I want to know if I'll be allowed legally to own a dog.
Oh, I've gotten too political? My bad. I just want to make sure I have access to birth control in 7 days.
Did Trump say he's going to ban it?
He said no more. He says anyone who uses birth control is getting deported too.
And I'm talking about condoms.
Everything.
not pills.
Everything.
So
Was it
dumb.
Seamus? Was it you who brought that up? That like birth control debates in the 30s were about condoms.
In the 40s, yeah, were
40s.
about condoms in
It's
the
like-
United States. And lefties go, we're just like the guys who won World War II. They would vote for us. And then you like read magazines from at the time. They're like, oh yes, Catholics fight against legal birth control, and they're talking about condoms. It's like
the
listen,
guys
those
who fought in
never
World
would've-
War II were trying to ban condoms.
Yeah.
Well, I get it, but here's another guy.
Not all the
I
guys.
got too political. My bad. I guess I don't know if I'm going to be a U.S. citizen in 7 days.
You're not like you revoke citizenship.
Wait,
Come on.
Wait.
If you're illegal, you got 5 days left.
No, that guy's
guy
like,
That guy's
he's
just
a
tweaking.
citizen.
That guy's tweaking.
He's like,
So
I'm a naturalized citizen, but Trump's going to take it away.
Well, no, to be fair, there's a more charitable reading, which is he's applied for citizenship, and in 7 days, he's just going to find out whether.
Oh, right.
his
It
application
has
was
nothing
approved.
to do with
That's
Trump.
all he's talking
Nothing
about.
to do with Trump.
It's
We just take the paper, just rip it up, and it just never exists.
Here we
because
go.
as Donald
Wait,
Trump-
here's more.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I'm just worried I won't be able to love who I love in 7 days.
No, because Trump has a device that can, it's an orb that
detects.
drains your love from your body.
Crystal.
So it's a
Outlaw
crystal that
love.
takes your love away.
Well,
so because in her mind, I don't. Let me just.
Hey, boys, she voted. She voted, boys.
I'll just make it serious. There's no means by which you can stop someone from loving someone else. Like, unless she's implying that Trump will come by and then maybe like share disparaging remarks about her lover, and then she'll not like him anymore.
Well, I don't know if you know.
How will
this.
you stop loving this person? What does it
Here's
mean?
how. So Project 2025 actually stipulates that we're going to use 5G to pick up people's thought waves, and they're going to broadcast that to Trump Towers, which is where the White House is going to be relocated. And from there, Donald Trump will determine whether you can keep loving who you love or whether you are getting put
how
in
do
the
you
crystals.
take away-
Whether you are getting put in the crystals. And if you love the wrong person, we will put you in the crystals, baby.
I heard that Project 2025, Trump is going to have a bunch of these collars that they put around your neck, and it makes it so you can't love anyone.
That's right. You're not allowed to love anymore.
Yeah, it's just your ability is gone. You just
You
can't.
only love
He
Trump.
replaces
You can only love Trump.
If you love anyone but me.
I mean, do these types of
Wait, there's
ads
more, there's more.
actually move the needle? I haven't
For people who don't pay attention and want to be part of some cult, sure. Wait, here's more.
Did I get political? My bad. I just don't want my mother to be denied her health care because she has a pre-existing condition.
Oh,
I just want to real quick, like nobody's ever brought that up. They've all repeatedly said they will defend it, but here's more.
Dude, I thought he was
too
going to.
political? My bad. I'm just fighting for the future of my daughter.
He was like,
What does it even mean?
She's like, oh, am I too political? I'm sorry. I want to know in 7 days if I'm going to be allowed to wear sunglasses anymore. The sun is bright. We all just have to get our eyes hurt by the sun?
I like this one. This one's pretty good. Listen.
Not too political, my bad. It's just that I don't know if my family in Western North Carolina will be warned of the hurricane coming in 7 days when the National Weather Service is gone.
He's going to shut down the Weather Channel.
Like Donald Trump he's twirling his mustache. We're gonna make sure the hurricanes come and wipe them out.
Hurricanes are going to be much bigger under me. We're going to make sure they do much more.
Trump will never see it coming.
It'd be really funny if like the first thing Trump does when he gets elected is he flies to Alaska and goes to HARP and just cranks it. Everyone's like, I knew it. Okay, wait, there's more. I'm sorry, everybody, there's more.
I got too political? My bad. I don't want them to start rounding up immigrants to deport in 7 days.
70% of the
to be
American.
fair,
I
he's half right.
I am in favor.
Illegal immigrants.
Illegal. Yeah.
No, nobody's gonna go round up regular immigrants.
Those are, they're
That's made
criminal
up.
alien invaders. There's a difference between a criminal alien invader and a legal immigrant.
But let's not be charitable. If she doesn't want to be charitable with what Trump's actually saying, I won't either. She's basically saying, do not deport Tren de Aragua.
Yeah.
If Trump says, I'm going to get rid of Tren de Aragua, and she goes, I don't want him doing that. I'll go, okay, well, then you support.
Yeah, I
Venezuelan
think she's
gangs.
being loose with the language, though. I think she would totally want to keep illegal immigrants in the country.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
No, she would probably no. And whenever
Especially
this comes
Tren de
up-
Aragua.
Whenever this comes up, they will defend people who are guilty of capital offenses from being deported. Well, it would be mean to do that.
Here we go. We got
70%.
more.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. The only reason I have a daughter is because of IVF.
No one. Trump says he's the king of IVF and wants to make it free. So look at his eyes, like my guy. Your eyes can go back to the normal opening width or whatever. If you just Google it, your eyes will close halfway. Just they'll go. You won't be shocked. You know?
No, he'll be shocked that he was misinformed the first. It'll get even wider. He'll be like,
Ah! His eyes pop out.
Oh, I got too political? I just don't really want JD Vance tracking my periods in 7 days.
I heard that.
Yes,
on the Rogan
wow.
podcast, JD Vance, the first thing he said was, well, the first thing I'm going to do is get a big list of every woman in the country's periods to monitor on my calendar.
I remember when he said that, and that's one policy I agree that he went a little too far on. But let's just think this through for a second. One
You're
thing,
going to get flagged for election misinformation.
one thing people do, which just drives me nuts, is especially when it comes to abortion bans, which are good and protect children from being murdered. One thing they'll do is they'll create all of these insane, weird, fictional scenarios that they claim will come about now that Roe has been overturned. My guy, for 200 years of our country's history, we existed without Roe v. Wade having been decided. For 200 years of our country's history, there was not a federal law. This was not until 1973 that the Supreme Court decided that every state had to have legal abortion. Wow. And guess what? Before 1973, we were not tracking people's periods. We did not have a pregnancy database.
That's what you think.
Yeah, no, it's true. I guess I don't really know about the secret Handmaid's Tale that was happening before 73.
So I got too political. My bad. I don't want Trump to take over the Board of Education, put in his lackeys, his loyalists, and have y'all continue to think that Puerto Rico is not a part of America.
Okay, I got to stop. Right, you are wrong. It's get rid of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
I don't want Trump.
No,
I agree with her. I completely agree. I do not want Trump to put his lackeys in the Department of Education. I want it gone.
100% agree.
Dismantled. Thomas Massey's bill. On December 31st, 2024, or what is it, January 1st, 2025, the Department of Education's operations will cease.
Absolutely.
It's just a one-line thing. So I agree, ma'am. Thank you for the last one. Welcome to the modern era of politics. Okay, I would be fair and say there's probably like 2% truth in this thing.
There's like one or two grievances that actually map onto something either Trump or Vance have proposed. But most of it is just nonsense. And there are things in there I wish were true. I wish they were going to ban IVF. They're not. They haven't said they're going to do that.
No, Trump says he's going to give it for free.
Yeah.
Trump said he's going to have government-funded IVF for everybody, and then they're like, he's going to ban it.
We have a leftist and a moderate running right now.
I wonder if these people just literally don't watch anything. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. We are in the social media era, and these people don't actually watch anything.
Yeah, information has never been easier to attain. Accurate information has never been easier to find and to spread. And people have absolutely no interest in finding any accurate information. They just want to go ahead and find things that entertain their paranoia, their fears.
Man, so I joined TikTok last month because that's where I'm hearing that young people are getting their source of news nowadays. And you can follow me at Real Joel Valdez, by the way. But on TikTok, it's insane how these people argue. Like I'll tune into a few live streams, and it's more delusional than I thought some of these X spaces are. And to think that these are videos like this are influencing millions of young voters is crazy.
Well, listen, I'm sorry if I'm getting too political, but in 7 days, I don't know if I'll be able to use social media. I don't know if social media will be there. I don't know. 7 days, going to the bathroom's not legal anymore. What do you do then? Wow. Wish you'd voted.
I'm sorry, Seamus. Am I too political? I just don't know if Donald Trump's going to come hang out with me in 7 days.
I'm sorry, Tim. Am I being too little? Am I Jeb Bush?
I think you just...
That's all. I can't. I'm done. I don't know if I'm able to speak in 7 seconds.
The Tower of Babel.
But yes, this show is doing so well. This show is doing so well that we're all going to start speaking different languages.
Did I get too political? I just don't know if all humans will be cast from the sky and have the languages split so that they will no longer be able to communicate.
I don't know if I'll still be able to go to speech therapy in 7 days. I'm sorry, am I too political right now?
I kind of feel like they went to these people and said, we're going to film you, and you just make it up.
Yeah.
Just say
they
something.
Allow that, though.
I don't know. Sorry, am I too political? I just don't know if Hitler is getting elected in 7 days. It's like, well, you can Google it. He's not.
But what they do for credibility is they throw in one or two things that sound vaguely like something Trump or Vance would do. This is another issue, too. We have a similar problem in reverse, which is Republicans have trouble discussing things that Democrats are doing because what they're actually doing sounds so insane that people don't believe you when you tell them.
When Dennis Prager went on Bill Maher and said, well, look, they're putting tampons in men's room. And then they all laughed and they're like, oh, you're so crazy, Dennis Prager. And then Bill Maher said, I've known you for a while. You were a reasonable guy, but this is nuts. And he's like, what? The funny thing about that story is that I believe it was 3 years before Prager brought that up. It had been viral.
Yeah.
Campuses were putting tampons in men's rooms. And Bill Maher's like, no, it's so they could have them for their girlfriends. You're making that up. These people are dangerously stupid and arrogant at the same time.
Well, they push for things that are so unbelievably disgusting and psychotic that you sound crazy for even mentioning them, and then they shame you for mentioning it. But this is what happened with giving sex change operations to illegal immigrants, which is like that sounds like something a parody of Fox News from 2005 would have in the Chiron. Like, it is actually something that Kamala Harris has proposed, and so this is a problem Republicans have. You will point out things Democrats are actually doing and have said that they're doing, and people will go, that's crazy, there's no way. Whereas they will just make things up and say Trump's trying to do them even though he said no such thing.
You know what really bothers me about horror movies? It's like every single one, I swear, if a person could just write a sane horror movie for once, it's like there's like a zombies going around and it's like a mummy Frankenstein and it's punching dogs and it's throwing geese or whatever. And then like the cops show up and they're like, what happened? And he goes, you're not going to believe me, but it was a Frankenstein mummy monster zombie that was attacking. And they're like, okay, this guy's nuts. And I'm like, how come there's just no intelligent, sane people in any horror movie where you could literally just be like, I don't know, I think it might have been a wild animal of some sort. Please, officer, come and help. Then they'll be like, okay, this makes sense, I'll help you. And then they'll see the monster. The reason I'm saying this is Democrats have this insane stuff they're pushing, like you mentioned, sex changes for inmates. And then it's like they're goading you into going to regular people and going, listen to me, they're trying to give sex change operation to illegal immigrants who are detained on the border. Yeah. And then these moderates are like, you have gone insane.
You've gone insane, yeah, exactly.
So don't take that bait. Just go, I go like this. I go, oh, what is this story? Do you see this story from CNN? This is weird. CNN must be making stuff up. And then I just show it to them.
And then they can go around saying to people like, oh, I'm sorry, did I get too political? I'm just not sure if in 7 days Donald Trump's going to round up every obese person and send them to fat camp all at once because he says he doesn't like people when they're overweight.
No, he's going to make sure that they all love him. All right, we got another story, my friends. This is from Fox News. Who wants to read the headline? I can't.
I'm sorry, man.
Biden bites babies visiting for White House Halloween trick-or-treat celebration.
I'm sorry, am I getting too political? I just don't know if Joe Biden's going to try to eat my child.
Biden bit a couple babies. How many was it? Did he bite 2 of them?
Dude, any amount is too many. There's no number that would ever make this story less bad. There's not like, well, it was one baby. Let's call it. It wasn't babies. All right, he bit one baby.
No, it was more than one. It's plural.
No, but it almost doesn't matter. It's like, all right, any amount of baby biting is too much for the sitting president of the United States. Like for anybody, this is somebody, if you had to give people background checks to get a butter knife, I would deny him. This is somebody who should not be able to use like children's scissors that you're issued in kindergarten.
It's along the line of cute aggression. It's the urge to squeeze or bite things perceived as cute without the desire to cause any harm. It is a common type of dimorphous display.
No, it isn't.
Where a person experiences positive and negative expressions simultaneously in a disorganized manner. Individuals experiencing cute aggression may find themselves clenching their jaws or fists with the urge to squish, pinch, or bite an adorable baby, animal, or object.
Well, it's like people will go like, oh, you're so cute, and like pinch a baby's cheek. You don't bite a baby. You don't bite a baby, Joe.
Apparently, Joe Biden does.
There's like no outrage over this?
It's just weird. It's just a very weird thing to do.
He's getting real close to
be fair.
adrenochrome conspiracy.
No.
Baby biting.
He's so desperate. He's aging. He's like, I just need it.
Snopes is going to come out and be like, an infant, which was deceptively dressed as a chicken to look delicious, was bit by Joe Biden in a gotcha, in a sting operation. So come on, man, I thought you had a little chicken there, man. I thought you brought me my lunch. I thought you brought me chicken. I'd take a nibble, man.
Dude, he bit 2 babies.
He bit 2 babies.
Look at this.
Why are you?
What's he doing?
He had. Well, the thing is, he has.
Look at this. Biden was photographed playfully biting at least 2 babies dressed in Halloween costumes.
He has 0 impulse control.
Imagine like the Kamala aides, like the George Bush meme, where it's like, "Sir, he bit a second baby."
Well, dude, is it?
Bit a second baby.
Oh my gosh!
He bit another baby.
But there's also a level where you go. It becomes so obvious that this is elder abuse. Like when someone starts biting babies, you turn the camera off. We don't need to. Like this guy And believe me, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
You're
But he
supposed
is
to
so out of his mind at this point. It's like, this is cruel. Don't show him to people.
I'm worried he's at the point where he's going to mix up the shaking hands and kissing babies. And then he'll start,
apparently he's going to, he's
going to start shaking babies.
and kissing hands. It's just, look, he's old.
babies.
He's clearly totally out of his mind. He's on the biting babies stage of dementia, and they're letting him be in front of cameras. I'm saying that's mean.
Dude,
That's really mean to do to
When
him.
people started sharing this image of him biting the baby, I thought it was AI. I thought it was
AI at first too.
I was like, ha ha ha, very funny. And then I saw a bunch of people posting that was more than one baby, and I'm like, what do they mean more than one? I thought it was like an AI thing. I was like, it was like a gag of him like biting a baby.
Come on, man.
I mean, it's a lack of impulse control at the end of the day. I mean, it's one thing to have this kind of urge, which is kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, apparently it's somewhat normal. But the president should be able to say, I probably shouldn't bite a baby.
I don't think it's
I'm going to take it a step further. A president should be able to say under oath, I have never bitten a baby. Ideally. Right, but listen, maybe I'm a utopian here.
He's got the baby's foot in his mouth. Okay, look, this one,
he's always putting his own foot in his mouth.
This one is the baby dressed like a chicken, and he's biting its leg. This one, he's got the baby's foot in his mouth.
Do you think he went, oh, it's a chicken leg, man? Try to make a little joke out of it.
Do people like you're saying that's normal, Phil?
Well, I put it up there. If you
don't put that on Phil, he didn't say that was normal.
Yes,
I googled cute aggression. And it's something that I've heard of before, and there's a Wikipedia article on it.
Cute aggression?
Yep. I can put the link in the
Look at this. ChatGPT. Yes, sometimes people sometimes bite babies playfully or affectionately, but usually gentle and harmless. They
didn't start saying that until Biden did it. They
Right.
didn't start saying it until Biden did it.
Yeah, I get that. It definitely sounds strange. It's usually just a soft nibble. Is it weird if the president puts the baby's foot in his mouth?
It's definitely weird. And again, it's...
Yeah, that would be pretty weird, even in playful interaction. That's definitely unusual behavior, especially for a president in the public eye.
He should have impulse control. He should not be doing that because it is weird.
Dude, isn't it weird, though, that we also talk about the sitting president of the United States as if he's some has-been celebrity? It's like he just came up. He did something, like you're reading about it in TMZ.
Bro,
this is the sitting president. He just faded into obscurity while being the president.
I'm making my plans over here. I hope y'all are, because, you can buy your gold, you can buy your emergency food, but I think there's a single-digit percentage chance that you may be hunting sometime soon. People
get out and vote so you don't have to. If you can't get out to vote, you're not going to
bro, you know what's crazy is quite literally, it's like if you vote for Donald Trump, you're voting for chicken wings, beer, and football games.
Yeah.
And if you're voting for Kamala Harris, it's like rationing, conscription, and probably the collapse of the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
And for biting babies, apparently.
President bit a baby. Please get out and vote.
Yeah. Please, we got to get rid of this.
The president bit a baby, please.
He bit a child. That was not normal.
2 of them.
2 children.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you make a really good point about how the president is not actually the president right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly just lost his effing mind.
Yeah.
And nobody is talking about it.
No,
exactly. It's been a year and a half or longer where Joe Biden's just been completely fried and his brain is cooked.
The thing is, at some point, they're going to admit it. So at some point, a few months from now, it's definitely not going to happen until well after the inauguration of the next president. But they'll start publishing stories about things that are happening right now that will make you terrified. Like, you would be terrified if you're hearing them now. Like,
Well,
oh yeah, no,
dude.
he almost pushed the button, or like he some insane.
Megyn Kelly said that she doesn't think the October surprise has come yet.
Really?
And we were talking before about how the October surprise would be Joe Biden stepping down and Kamala Harris assuming the presidency right before the election. I don't know if that matters, though, because early voting is so pronounced right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a bad idea to wait this late for the October surprise too.
People who are going to vote on election day, I think, are nuts. You got to go vote early.
Guys, vote early, boys. If you're one of the fellas watching this, you don't want to get drafted to fight in World War III. Go out and vote, dude.
Definitely you don't want to fight.
Go out and vote.
Because when I went, there were 30 people in line, and it took about 20 something minutes. And then we got B-dubs.
And if you can't even get out and vote right now, you are definitely going to die if you get sent to World War III. You're not one of the guys who survives.
Bro, they're not draftable. Did you see this? Like, was it like 70% or something ridiculous number can't be drafted?
Yeah.
So they're gonna it's funny because I make the joke. I'm like, I'm 38. I'm gonna be 39 in 5 months or whatever, 4 months. What do I care? I ain't getting drafted. It's actually like, no, actually, by the time they make it through all the young people who are flat-footed and morbidly obese, they're coming for the athletic late 30s people. But it's okay because Seamus is a canary in a coal mine. He'll go before me.
No, they would never. I'm not physically fit. Are you kidding me?
I thought you were kidding.
It's not about that.
They're like, this is cannon fodder. This man is cannon fodder.
That's not why. They're going to be like, and what's your occupation? Cartoonist?
We won't need any of those. No, they'll have me make like modern war propaganda.
They're like
Disney.
frontline infantry now. We need you.
That's right. This is a tough guy. He'll win the war for us.
You're going to be like, what was that dude in Full Metal Alchemist? Joker? Was that what they called him? What was the comedian guy who was funny?
I never watched Full Metal Alchemist.
No, nobody here watched it.
I don't watch those animes.
They would be like, gee, Seamus, you're real funny. We can use plucky comic relief when we're...
That's right. That is what's going to happen. Yes.
No, but in all seriousness, going back to the thing about, Joe Biden's brain being melted, can we talk about how serious that is?
It's very serious. That's what I'm saying. You're going to start to see stories published in the media long after it's possible for anyone to do anything about it, which will...
Oh, yeah, there's a video of it.
Just genuinely horrifying.
There's a video.
Oh, yeah. With the...
Oh, now what's he doing?
All right, dude.
Yeah, have we considered
the rubber gloves on the feet? That's adorable. That's crazy. I didn't even catch that. That's so hilarious.
Away from kids.
They got yellow rubber gloves.
They're eating the babies.
They're eating the babies.
Dude, that's adorable.
But it's crazy that Joe Biden's not even a factor in the election right now. He's not campaigning for Harris. He's the sitting president. He's biting babies. What is he even doing? And who's the president?
Well, I'm not sure who the president is. I imagine that it's probably just a panel of people, depending on what's going on. Whether it be if it's something that the Defense Department has to worry about, it's the Secretary of the Joint Chiefs or the SecDef. If it's something that State Department has to worry about, it's Anthony Blinken. It's not Joe Biden, clearly, and I'm sure that there are plenty of policies or directives that go out with his name signed that he has no idea they're going out.
They must have stopped giving him those drugs.
Yeah, they're not wasting those on him. They're giving him a Kamala now.
Kamala's pumped up.
Yeah, but Joe must have been getting something for clarity, not necessarily uppers. I think they're definitely giving him IV treatment, but I don't know about uppers. He's got the plates in his brain. I feel like they have to give him some kind of like...
He's probably getting it from Hunter.
No, he's the president, man. He's probably got a lab under the White House where they're like concocting
the best scientists.
Yeah, just all sorts of crazy nonsense. But if they really had something that could make Biden work, certainly it could make Kamala work, and she ain't working.
Well, I mean,
could you imagine Kamala if she was like on like meth or coke?
Yeah, I don't know.
Multiply
I think
her.
I've seen it. I feel I've seen that.
Have you ever talked to somebody who just did cocaine?
Yes.
I mean, not
Phil
that
gets it.
To be fair, not that I know of. Like, it's very possible that I have. I
no
just
clue.
didn't know.
Well, just talk like this. Like, oh my God, let me tell you a story. Like, I was with my friends. We were at the bar. Oh my God, it was crazy. This guy came up to me and I was like, I'm going to get you a drink. And I was like, dude, I don't even want to drink right now. But this guy bought me a drink. And I'm sitting there and yeah, so you've met people who have...
If they're not talking, there's a lot of teeth grinding.
Yeah. Could you imagine Kamala Harris
sweating.
talking in circles, but 10 times faster? She does sound drunk. That's why SNL calls her drunk.
I don't imagine, I don't think that you can make Kamala Harris better just by giving her uppers, because I think that the content isn't in her head. Like Joe Biden, at some point was a reasonably sharp statesman, right? Like he's been in D.C. for a long time. He understands how it works. He won a lot of elections. He's held multiple jobs in D.C.
Yeah, go back to some of his debates at the floor of the U.S. Senate.
And he had at least had the ability to do his job. Kamala Harris, there's no reason to believe that she's qualified to do anything at all.
No. Have you seen? I just want to mention, for anyone who either wasn't around then or didn't follow politics, if you watch the Biden versus Sarah Palin debate, or even the Biden versus Paul Ryan debate, he looks like a completely different guy. He talks like a completely different guy. I mean, he has aged horribly.
I want to. We're going to get to the next story, but I want to say something first. I want to say, my friends, we're a few days away from this election, and I know it is trying times. Costs of goods are way up, Energy prices are way up. You struggle every day. And now you're probably very stressed out about this election. So the one thing that we wanted to make sure we could bring to you is some levity and humor, which is why we have this next story. Distraught Rosie O'Donnell, quote, on the verge of pills at prospect of a Trump victory. Yes, the crackpot psychopaths have begun their rants already. And, I've long expressed my fear that y'all will not be prepared for this. Will not take it seriously. And then come election day, your phone batteries will be dead. You will have no internet service, and you will not be able to record all of these psychotic behavior. But rest assured, my friends, they are filming themselves already.
Okay, so how's everybody's nerves about this election? Let's say on a scale of 10 being can't think of anything else and may need some additional medication, I'm like at a 7.
Additional, she said, because they're already on pills.
Yeah.
So that's all right. I can handle a 7. I'm trying not to watch so much of the news now. I'm trying to recite that amazing prayer you do in Al-Anon and AA about,
This is actually just making me sad.
I know. Things you can and cannot change.
Well,
and if you voted, if you donated, if you could.
She's like saying, it's like she's giving a speech like she's leaving Middle Earth.
I'll say, there is a sense in which we really need to re-stigmatize mental illness, because these people will just talk about how they're on pills as if it's a badge of honor. Dude, that's not something you need to broadcast to people. And by the way, if you are mentally ill to the point where you require medication, listen, I'm sorry, that's a tough break. It's not necessarily, in many cases, a moral failing. You could just have real issues. I get it, but if you're mentally ill to the point where you can't interact with reality without drugs, then I'm not going to take your advice on who to vote for. I'm sorry.
Should we ban people from voting if they are currently on psychoactive medication?
That's an interesting thought. I mean,
the challenge to it is always that the government would forcefully medicate conservatives, but I still don't think that the pitfalls is a good enough argument to allow people who are clearly disturbed to vote, because both prospects are horrifying.
Well, it's just people will brag about being mentally ill nowadays.
Well, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
neurodivergent, Seamus.
Yeah, then believe. I know. And listen, we're all, they're neuroatypical, and me with my typical neurons over here, I could just never understand. It's like, if you're going to sit here and brag about being mentally ill, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take your advice on how to live my life or how the country should be run.
People are not only bragging about it, but they will self-diagnose just so they can say that they're mentally ill. They may not actually have a mental illness. They might just be a little on the neurotic side, and they'll say, oh, well, I have this, I have that. And they'll tell everybody, they'll put it in their bios on X or whatever, so that way they get the attention from other people saying, oh, I'm sorry, and the virtue points,
Aside from the fact that
victimhood is a currency.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, aside from the fact that she looks like the love child of Keith Olbermann and Mark Cuban, in the 2016 debate, Trump rose to prominence because he roasted her on the debate stage. So it kind of makes sense that Rosie O'Donnell, out of anyone, would be taking pills as a result of Donald Trump becoming president.
It does make sense. She got significantly embarrassed by him. But I mean, I don't know that there's a great way to figure out who should and should not be prevented from voting because of the medication they're on. It would be weaponized. Any power you give to the government is going to be weaponized against you. I mean, look at what's happened with the Patriot Act. Everyone was gung-ho about it back then, and whereas I understand the impulse, you don't want people that are crazy or neurotic or whatever deciding the direction of the country. At the same time, any power you give to the federal government is a weapon that you're giving to the federal government.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think anyone's actually seriously suggesting that, but it's kind of an interesting question to ask, and in part because we have this default assumption right now that voting is this very important thing that can decide the future of our country, and every vote counts, but also our default position should be that every adult is allowed to vote. And I just think that's ridiculous. If voting is this very important thing, then it needs to be taken seriously. And we need to ensure that somebody is of a certain level of consideration or concern or status to actually have any kind of stake in the future of the system. So, for example, I just think it's an insane idea that a father of 6 whose worked hard his entire life to provide for his family can have his vote canceled out by some 18-year-old who just took out $200,000 in student debt to go to art school. Like, I think it's silly to say that everyone should just get an equal say. And by the way, there is no justification for that argument I've heard, which doesn't just apply to communism as a concept. It's always, well, everything needs to be equal for everyone. We need to ensure everyone has an equal say. I'm sorry, we don't. Some people are more qualified to make decisions and have more of an incentive to make choices that are in line with the long-term flourishing of our country.
That's why I feel I should be in charge of Freedom Tunes.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. No, we need to equally distribute all of the decision-making power for Freedom Tunes.
Yes. So even the leftists can help write you jokes.
Yeah, exactly. We have to allow that. We have to allow that.
You know what's kind of crazy is I was just thinking about the olden days, like, 1600s or whatever, and it was quite difficult to survive relative to today. That just meant that mentally ill people did not survive.
No. Yeah.
And so all the people of sound survival mind survived, and they would vote and they would have kids. But over a long enough period of time with technological advancements, we've created a society where we now have a critical mass of people who are otherwise incapable of making decisions for themselves, and they do vote. The weight of that becomes a lot to bear for any society. I believe will ultimately result inadvertently into a system that once again becomes harsh and chaotic, resulting in people losing their lives.
Yeah, I actually have a slightly different take. I agree with the general sentiment, but I would say that our modern life incentivizes and promotes and even just flat out pushes people into ways of life that are so unnatural that people who would otherwise be mentally healthy become mentally ill. What is an illness? Well, sometimes you have congenital illnesses. You'll have mental illnesses that are just a product of a person's genetics or birth. But just like with physical illness, sometimes, many times, you're sick because you've treated yourself improperly. You've behaved improperly. You ate the wrong kinds of foods or didn't exercise enough.
Like gluten.
And I think the same thing is true of mental health, but we don't want to acknowledge it. People will actually see a deterioration in their own mental health when they live in immoral, unnatural ways. And so many of us are right now.
I actually think a large component of mental instability right now with identity crises is due to mass media and to a great degree cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not joking. So for almost the entirety of human civilization, moving pictures didn't exist. Humans identified with other humans for the most part. I'm sure there were people who identify with animals in weird ways, but they probably would not survive very well, or they just grew up surrounded by wolves or something. But now you have people who actually identify as cartoons, things that are not real.
Don't look at me.
But they begin to identify things in the real world as if they were cartoonish or should be. I just think like I saw this tweet about Mr. Rogers. And it said, watch Mr. Rogers and compare it to children's programming today. And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I saw the same tweet.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers is like, hello there, neighbor. This is a train. Trains carry people from one place to the next. And it's like he's a calm adult talking like an adult to kids. Now you look at modern kid stuff on YouTube. And it's
toilet.
Like, I mean, that's not really for kids, but kids watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But you had Elsagate. Joker running around chasing a pregnant Elsa with a giant syringe and stabbing her in the butt with it. That's exactly what it was.
Very weird.
Or like there's like big fat guys who make weird noises and scream at the camera, and kids, like parents put their kids in front of it. And I'm like, these kids are going to grow up with severe mental disabilities because these kids. Okay, do you guys remember that video where it's like the 1950s and the kids, they're talking like this? I quite find the politics of Liechtenstein a bit appalling when you bring it to tax policy. And everyone's like, how are they sounding so smart?
Yeah.
The kid's like 9 years old. It's because they grew up surrounded by people who talked like that, and they talked the way they were trained, they were raised to talk. Now kids are growing up watching weirdo cartoons and crackpot BS. And with the modern school, this is why we got to go to the Department of Education. Kids are being raised by other kids.
Yep.
It's like, You take two young people who have no idea how the world works, put them next to each other, and they're going to keep bouncing nonsense off each other and then developing crazy ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're getting.
Yeah, and things have gotten progressively worse over time, right? We went from teaching Latin in grammar school to remedial English in colleges and universities.
I blame media.
Yeah, I think the media is a big part of it. I think another part of it is just the idea of mass education in general and not structuring it in a way that actually took into account the fact that different people have a different capacity for learning. But that said, media is a large part of it. Even just the medium itself, watching something as opposed to reading. Obviously, reading something is something that requires a bit more discipline and it'll build brain power. And we're all guilty of this, right? It's just easier to watch something than it is to read it. But the content of what people are watching. You mentioned Mr. Rogers. He spoke to kids in a very grown-up way. And then when I was a kid, we had like Teletubbies, which is just the most insane acid trip ever placed on television. And it's
and
for
they don't
kids.
even speak. They don't even speak.
They just say gibberish. It's like, that's probably not good for a developing brain.
Yeah, and there's a burning baby head flying through the sky.
Through the sky. It's a horrifying world.
There are people that believe that if you read to your children, you're giving your children an unfair advantage over kids that don't have parents that can read to them.
Good.
And yes, absolutely, you should read to your kids.
Make your kid read to you.
Well, once they can, it makes sense. But the point is, like, children should be like, you should engage with your children as if they are small adults, not expect them to do things that adults do, but you should talk to them slowly and clearly, and you shouldn't do baby talk with them. Like, you shouldn't do any of that stuff because they're going to absorb what they hear. So you want them to hear properly articulated English so that way they can absorb that, and that will get them to the point where that will give them an advantage when it comes time to learn. You can start teaching your children about letters when they're like 2. You don't have you don't have to be like, oh, you must know this, but you can start exposing them to things that they're going to need to know, like when they're a year and a half. It's like, you don't have to wait until they're like, 4 or 5 to be like, okay, well, now you're going to start learning. Because
also, don't give them an iPad.
Actually, I think iPad's fine so long as you're playing like BBC Wild Earth or Quantum Physics or something. The problem is parents put the iPad in front of the kids, press play on some random psychobabble nonsense where there's a dog going, blah, 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 and then the kids just
I worked hard on that. I worked really hard on that video, and I don't appreciate you denigrating it. But no, it's sorry, I totally interrupted.
What's Attenborough's first name?
David.
David Attenborough?
Okay, so I thought. Like, if your kid, you want to be entertained, here's a video about frogs.
Yeah.
Like, play things that's actually, I still remember the Nintendo Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 password for level select. And 10 lives. It's BA, up, down, BA, left, right, BA, start. Play that on Nintendo. Go find one. Play Ninja Turtles 2. Put that in at the start screen, and you will get the level select. Why do I know that?
Because you were a kid. You absorb it, and it stays there. Yeah.
And I'm just like, the things that kids you're telling your kids they will never forget.
Well,
and if it's not something they can consciously remember, it'll be the fabric of their being.
And it's extremely dark when you consider the fact that there are many things that we used to consider to be very inappropriate for children that we're now trying to expose children to. So we try to slip sexual perversion into basically everything now. There will be children's shows that show mastectomy scars as the result of sex change procedures.
Unreal.
That will have to show a character with 2 dads. But then we won't expose kids to realities that we used to be comfortable exposing them to. So if you watch children's films from the 80s or 70s or earlier, people die, right? And there are scary situations. We've done this strange thing where we've sanitized children's media to the point where there are no stakes and there isn't any real lesson to learn beyond be yourself. And nothing unfortunate or terrible or permanently bad happens to the protagonist, so no real message has any kind of impact.
Yep.
But then we'll slip in a bunch of really disgusting perversion that children really shouldn't be exposed to.
Yeah.
Is that it? Seamus
We solved it. Yeah, I solved it. Well, no, I mean, but it's funny because we'll say, well, like, a child is too innocent to see a film where something scary happens. No, they aren't. Kids get scared all the time.
Yep.
Kids get scared all the time. And it should be something that's embraced in the sense that you can package a moral lesson into a story that has frightening elements. But what kids should not be exposed to are like mastectomy scars because of a sex change, or this sexual pervert identifies, as a woman even though he's a man. Like, those are things children should not be exposed to.
We got a story here from the Daily Wire. New York City legalizes jaywalking, period. Okay, I'm going to stop and say, oh, it's about time. Everybody does it. And then supporters complain laws against it had racial implications.
Good grief.
How?
So now we're at the period where if the law that exists is the right law, but for some reason it's disproportionately affecting one racial group, the law must be done away with. So it's like if one racial group commits a bunch of crimes, the law cannot be allowed to exist.
And they say the same about daylight savings, so we can get rid of that. Say that it has some racial implications, and maybe we could keep the time the same all year.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to do with daylight savings is keep the daylight longer. So it's like they want the day to be they want the day to be longer. They don't want to go back. So right now, what I'm hearing is, because I think this weekend is daylight savings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, people are like, no, we shouldn't do it. I'm like, no, we're going back to the normal time. We are in daylight savings, okay? If you get rid of it, it will instantly go back to being darker earlier. And I always hated it because I'm like, just wake up early. It's like the stupidest thing imaginable. It's like, we need more daylight for the harvest. What? Just wake up an hour early. What are you doing?
Yeah, there was that old joke. This was attributed in a meme to a wise Native American man, but people make things up, so who knows? But the line was like, oh, they think that they can, or like the Europeans think that they can make a quilt longer by cutting off of the bottom and then sewing it to the top, which is effectively what daylight savings time is.
That is indeed. Well, here's the story. Despite the fact that roughly 200 people have been killed in New York City in the last 5 years while jaywalking, the city has now legalized jaywalking, outlawed since 1958, with supporters claiming the laws against jaywalking were racist. The city council passed a bill last month permitting jaywalking. Democratic Mayor Eric Adams never vetoed the bill, and it became law and will go into effect in roughly 120 days. Prior to the law being abolished, a violation costs as much as $300. Bro, everybody in New York jaywalks. There is no circumstance where people aren't jaywalking in New York. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. This law doesn't need to be racist to be gotten rid of. But if this is the way they're going, quote, jaywalking is not genuinely associated with traffic safety and instead is often used as a pretext to stop black and brown individuals. Decriminalizing actually, I think that's half true. If you are in like Manhattan and you jaywalk, nobody stops you. But in the black neighborhoods, cops will use jaywalking as a means for a stop and frisk. And so that does happen. That doesn't mean you make jaywalking legal. It means you just enforce jaywalking laws.
Dude, I would crash out if I got a $300 fine for jaywalking.
It happens all the time in Missouri. Yeah, for real. Yeah. People get jaywalking.
I mean, I've done it all the time when I was in Chicago.
So you admit you're a criminal.
I mean, if that makes me a criminal, so be it.
Yeah, that's right.
Jaywalking criminal.
Shame on you.
It's part of a broader decriminalization of everything. Joseph Borelli, the Republican minority leader in New York City Council, stated. Fellow GOP councilwoman Vicky Palladino echoed that the move would promote chaos and make streets far more dangerous. I actually agree with that, because now people are just going to be crossing randomly all over the place, all over Manhattan. And that's actually going to be like kind of messed up.
Maybe.
No, I mean, listen.
100 people just crossing at once.
This is another issue that I think people don't consider often enough. They'll point to some law, and it'll be a law that actually makes sense. I mean, for example, telling people not to cross the street in a busy city is probably a good policy. But they'll say, well, a lot of people don't follow that law. People jaywalk anyway. For sure, that's true. But people are always going to fall below what the standards are, right? We have to set standards anyway. The reality is we're never going to set a standard and have everybody meet it. We should still have those standards. It's still probably better to have a rule that says, yeah, don't just cross the street when there's cars driving there. Like, I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Well, does legalizing jaywalking mean that like whoever is jaywalking has the right of way automatically?
That's an interesting.
Well, the pedestrians always have the right of way, right?
No, because I mean that's fucked up if that's the case.
Oh, I'm stoked because they're going to get self-driving cars soon. They got them in Austin and San Fran. Just imagine the chaos of everybody just walking. Dude, have you seen how people treat the self-driving cars? There's no one in it to affront, so people don't care. There was one homeless lady like sitting on one, and the car couldn't go anywhere, and she's laughing because there's nobody in it. No one can call. Like no one's going to do anything. No one's going to call the cops. The car just doesn't move. So people are going to be just walking around, and the cars are going to be stuck. This is how they're going to get rid of cars.
I imagine that it's always going to be the people have the right of way, because if a person you have to incentivize people to stop, people that have cars to stop, because the car versus the human's going to lose every time.
Should we look up the FBI crime stats to see what other laws are racist?
Yeah, well, they're all racist, right? Any law that you write is racist.
The law is racist.
The law is just inherently racist because this country's inherently racist because it was built to stop slavery, whatever. Yeah, and the stats are racist. It's all racist.
Oh, wait, hold on, guys, wait, stop, shut up, Seamus, stop.
What?
Gun laws disproportionately affect black and brown people in New York, so we have to get rid of gun laws.
You know they're never going to fall for it. They're never going to fall for that. You know what you're doing, and they do too.
It's true, though. In New York, The gun laws in Chicago disproportionately affect black and brown people, so that's racist, and therefore the law must be abolished. We have to let everyone have guns.
Yeah, well, we all know that this is just something they use as a tactic, right? Well, that's racist, so we can't allow people to do it. But again, they very selectively apply it. Way more black babies are killed by abortion. Margaret Sanger was openly racist, but they never decry abortion or Planned Parenthood is racist. It just doesn't matter to them. When they see an excuse to, decrease stability and promote lawlessness, they will try to turn a law into a racial issue. But the reality is it has nothing to do with race. It's just all about tearing the system down.
Yeah, I mean, they'll say it's restorative justice or something like that. And really what it is an effort to disrupt the system that exists.
Well, it's like, I just don't, listen, I can understand saying, there aren't enough police. It's hard for us to enforce these laws. But the idea that what we need right now is to give more criminals a pass is so backwards.
So guys, look, I just pulled up the New York City government 2023 enforcement report. I got some shocking news. All law is racist.
All the laws are racist.
So what we have here, it says misdemeanor, criminal mischief, victim, suspect, arrestee, and ethnicity. This is really interesting. So American Indians are 0.8% of victims, 0.3% of suspects, but 0.4% of arrestees. It's a very small number. Asian Pacific Islander is 11.6% of victims, 5% of suspects, and 5.1% of arrestees. Black New Yorkers are 38.9% of victims, 49.7% of suspects, and 43.1% of arrestees. And then white is 20, 15, 17. Hispanic is 28, 29, 34. I think it's fair to say that the law itself must be abolished, all of it, because no matter what it is disproportionately affecting black people.
You're noticing too much, Tim. Stop noticing. Gonna get in trouble for not all this
it's racist. Every law is racist.
This proves it. It's inherent racism.
Every law is racist then.
The issue here is not that any one of these individuals is more likely to commit a crime. It's that they're only suspects because the system is racist and the laws must be abolished.
Yeah.
And that's actually the argument that leftists are making and trying to get rid of prisons and police and all of that stuff.
Every single disparity is...
I'm for it now. I'm for it. You know what, man? Defund the police, abolish the police, just all that. And then there's no laws, and then the strong will survive.
I mean, that's just not the way it's going to work out, though. Like, if they abolish...
What do you mean?
Well, because they'll still enforce... Like, all right, you know what they're doing.
Laws against people that are
abolish the police.
They won't do it. They'll say they abolish the police, but then they'll send a social worker with a nightstick over to your house to beat you for defending
Who's
yourself.
going to stop me from having a gun?
A social worker.
Social worker.
With a gun. A social worker with a gun will be like, yeah, I'll make the society work.
Social worker with a gun. Yeah, a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
but this
go.
is, we talk about this all the time. It's anarcho-tyranny. Right? So you have this guy who'd been arrested upwards of 30 times in one case for grabbing a child. He's on the subway screaming in people's faces, saying he's going to kill them. Daniel Penny steps in.
Oh, my God.
Saves everybody there. And now he's going to be potentially kept off the street for the rest of his life, even though the guy who he had to restrain had 30-something arrests and was still out on the streets.
Yeah.
New York City is racist.
Is it?
Absolutely. Look at this. 57% of suspects in murders are black. That proves they're racist because there's substantially less black people than living in New York. And 57% of the victims are black. That proves that New York is racist. There's no other explanation.
It's right, exactly.
Including the mayor.
They got to get rid of these laws. Laws that say you need a driver's license and that.
They say that. They say if you have a law that says you need a driver's license to vote, it's racist.
I know.
Like, they literally already say that.
I'm saying it right now. You just got to get rid of it all. No. Just get rid of all. You know what?
No more.
And anybody can vote as many times as they want. Just all laws. Seamus, you can vote.
Seamus is in charge.
I already did.
Well, all right then.
Believe it or not, I voted. Did you at home vote? Young men watching.
You got to go. Did you?
Did you vote? Boys got to get out there and vote.
Then switch to Phil because Seamus is pointing at Phil and Phil says, "Yes, I did."
I did. I voted last Monday.
My man.
This past Monday.
What do you think is next on the chopping block for laws they would get rid of in all seriousness? Right, jaywalking. I'm actually excited to see what happens in New York now that people are told outright like jaywalking's legal.
Well, part of what they do with like the most egregious offenses, they just try to redefine what the offense is. So they didn't write a law saying weird perverts who get off on dressing as women are allowed to go in women's changing rooms. They just redefined the terms and said, well, this is a trans woman, and this trans woman should be able to go in the women's restroom. So I think often it's not even a matter of repealing the law. It's just about redefining things in a way that allows them to give people a pass on bad behavior. And we see that too, even with they're literally showing pornography to children in schools. But it's not like they repealed the law that says you're not allowed to show pornography to children. They just redefined something that was obviously porn and started calling it sex ed, even though it was rated as MA by Amazon.
That was the whole reason.
And the author was creating it to indulge their fetish.
That's the whole reason that the left wants to control like definitions and stuff, is because if they can't change the law, they're completely happy with changing the words so the law means something different.
Yeah.
Means something else. And that's one of the reasons why they want to have, you hear people on the left constantly saying, oh, we have a living constitution. It should be interpreted. So that way they don't even have to change the laws. They just have to say, well, we understand it differently today. And it's one of the reasons why I will forever assert that the Constitution is not a living document. It is dead, dead, dead. The words mean what they say, and if they don't mean what they say, then they don't mean anything at all. And there's no point in having a constitution.
I think a step above that too is not just like how they'll be changing the laws, but how they'll be choosing the lawmakers. 'Cause we're seeing efforts in state by state trying to move away and embrace ranked choice voting.
Yeah,
and that system in itself would radically change how people choose their elected officials. And I think both the Democrat establishment and the Republican establishment are out against it, but it's seeing what it's done in other states is terrible. And so if they can't get their way with changing it, changing the law itself, I think they're going to be changing the system of how we choose our lawmakers.
Let's jump to this story from the New York Times. Look at this.
Ew, look at that guy in the middle.
Michael Knowles. Is that who you're talking about?
No, I meant the guy next to him.
Oh, Rudy Giuliani. Yeah.
No. The other guy on the other side. Michael Knowles is a very handsome man. I've never heard Michael Knowles. Guy leaves me speechless.
It's me from Milwaukee. And you got Ben Shapiro over here. There's Tucker on the bottom. But look, they made me very prominent. But Michael Knowles is the go-to guy.
They put him in the center. I don't even think they mention him in the article.
Can we read lips? What is he saying?
He's saying you subscribe to Freedom Tunes. They just released a very funny video today on Kamala's husband. That's what he's saying.
So this is the infamous story that was coming out where everybody said, that they were trying to censor prominent right-wing channels right before the election. But, the thing is, the article itself is nowhere near the front page. It's in the technology section, and it was actually kind of hard to find. So this is probably just some, young, new hire guy who was like, I got a story, and they're like, sure, whatever, dude, we don't care. And then he ended up publishing just basically nothing.
Do you think they kind of buried it because everybody like Benny Johnson and Ben Shapiro and everyone was talking about it before the thing came out?
No, because they wouldn't have messaged everybody. By sending a message to literally everyone, it was like the issue is that they failed. The story, 30 conservative channels posted 286 videos containing election misinformation. I post 15 videos a day. So out of 30 people, there's an average of around 9 or so videos per person over the span of 6 months where we're all posting 8 to 10 videos per day. They're basically saying you have 1 day out of 1 quarter where you may have made an error. And it's oh. And so YouTube...
in the New York Times has never made an error.
Not once.
So
the YouTube just responded none of these things break the rules. If they break the rules, we'll take care of it. But none of these things do. Thank you and have a nice day. Here's the funny thing. When they mention me, they mention me and Benny Johnson and Tenet. Nowhere in the article to say I said anything at all. It just says that, Benny Johnson, actually, this is factually incorrect. This is fake news. It says Tenet paid popular pundits to create content. That is factually incorrect. First of all, if you want to get real technical, a production company was paid by Tenet Media for a licensing agreement. There was never an exchange of money to me personally, but that's just picking hairs, right? The reality is that my company, or any entity I own was paid by anyone to create content for anyone. We already made the show. They just wanted to redistribute it. That's it. But that being said, he then doesn't even mention me. After that, he's just Mr. Poole did not respond to a request for comment, and then nowhere else am I even mentioned in this. So fine, I guess. What is this? A correction was made. An earlier version of this article misstated the number of videos that YouTube reviewed when asked for comment. and whether they contain misinformation. YouTube said it reviewed 8 videos, which were identified by the New York Times and referenced in the article, not all of them, and found that those 8 did not violate its community guidelines. It did not comment on whether they contained misinformation. Well, I got news for you, buddy. You published fake news.
So
that is election misinformation during an election, and I think YouTube should ban you.
Yeah, I think YouTube should ban them. Listen, I think that the New York Times is a horrible publication with a long history of being terrible, and that goes far beyond this. But yeah, the Holodomor is a great example. But they have a history of denying these kinds of things. They even get criticized for not properly covering the Holocaust back during the World War II era. So the Holodomor specifically, though, they had a foreign correspondence reporter with the USSR named Walter Duranty, who it literally came out, just made up basically everything that he said and everything that was published because he was a communist who wanted to deny the fact that millions of Ukrainians were starved to death. And he won a Pulitzer. He was a staple at the New York Times. FDR decided to officially recognize the Soviet Union as a nation, in large part because of Duranty's reporting. This man who covered up the starvation, the death, the intentional murder by the of millions of Ukrainians by the communist government. And I'm just going to be honest, I don't think the New York Times has gotten better since then. I really do not think they've gotten better since then. They've lied about so many things throughout the They've
gotten much better at lying.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. They have gotten a lot better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
There you go,
I would agree. They've gotten better at lying.
I mean, they were looking to Media Matters for information on the people in this particular piece. I mean, going to Media Matters, they literally exist to be a basically to do hit pieces on people.
New York Times, you're posting fake news. You got to issue corrections, and it's easily verifiable because if you just read the indictment, it literally says that we had a non-exclusive distribution license. We were never paid to create anything. So they just make things up. I mean, and that's actually a very serious and egregious false statement.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. I might have to call my lawyer over here and see what's going on. See what we got here. He's got a message. Oh, we're suing Kamala Harris.
Well, listen, part of that's true. You are. I think the other thing is the New York Times is probably. I mean, the New York Times is desperate to retain its relevance, and this has been a problem for many years, long before any of us were on the scene commenting on these kinds of things. As soon as journalism started shifting towards the internet, people started publishing online, and print media was becoming less viable. The New York Times has been very worried about how they were going to stay afloat. And I remember some years ago, I was in a media literacy class, and we watched this documentary on the New York Times, and I believe it was the chief manager there at the time was speaking to a crowd of other people who worked at the New York Times about how print media wasn't out and the New York Times was still fantastic. And the answer that he gave to them is, you see all these popular stories online. Well, I'll have you know that even though they got all these views in these different news websites that are purely digital, many of these stories were broken in traditional print media or on the New York Times. And you just go, okay, you dingus. The whole point is they're moving away from traditional media, and there's nothing you're doing right now that digital journalists or people publishing online can't do. So they're trying to cling to relevance. They're very upset because they're not just losing profitability, right? Like, they are losing control over a narrative. They've had a tremendous amount of power for a very long time. They abused that power horribly by covering up genocide and lying to the American people and supporting totalitarian regimes. And it's crumbling down around them. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
Well, the fact that they're trying to regain that control over the narrative is probably the key piece to what they're doing here. I mean, it's not just X, although X was kind of leading the charge. But you see the reverberations of X being a platform where other voices are actually heard. Like we would mention the Washington Post and the Bezos op-ed the other day. You see YouTube turning them down or saying, no, there's nothing that these groups have done. They haven't done anything wrong, so we're not going to do any kind of strikes or anything. If this was 5 years ago, YouTube would have bowed as soon as they said, hey, do this, because the narrative was totally controlled.
Yeah.
There was almost 100% control by the establishment. I mean, you had the FBI lawyer, an FBI lawyer was leading the I forget what the desk was called, but he had a desk at Twitter. I mean, there was no distinction between the federal government and the essentially the tech companies and the media. It was all one. It was all part of the blob, you know. So the fact that Twitter has or X has made it possible for dissenting voices to be heard without being, you know, just booted for having a dissenting voice, it means that other organizations and stuff are going to have started to fall away.
Yeah, well, and I think there's an additional piece here, which is that as of 2023, YouTube has a new CEO. So aside from this being an election year and them desperately wanting to remove conservative content because they don't want the vote to be swayed or just dissident content in general, it's possible they also want to send a message to the new CEO of YouTube. Yes, we will try to get advertisers to boycott you. We will make your platform look bad. We will smear you if you allow dissidents to express opinions that the New York Times doesn't consider to be acceptable.
Yeah, when you start to understand that the New York Times is just a bulletin board, a blog for the deep state intelligence agencies, then it makes seeing through the bullshit like some of these articles way easier. In fact, you should probably subscribe and watch all the people that are on that thumbnail.
Indeed.
Yeah.
They're good. Good people. That's right. Let's see. Let's take a look.
Listen, the New York Times trashing you.
Yeah, maybe not
is,
Steve Deese, but everyone else.
New York Times trashing you is
You got
honestly,
Cash, you got Elijah, Knowles, Tucker, Ben, me. Who's the guy in the top left?
Stinchfield.
Ah, we got Cash. Mentioned him.
Patel.
And that's Steve Deese. There you go. But these aren't the 30 channels. Like, the interesting thing is, who are the other people that they reached out to? They don't say. Researchers found.
Yeah, and interesting that they couldn't name them in the article or wouldn't name them in the article.
Yeah. Researchers, the people at Media Matters, they're calling researchers. They're literally just people that, you know, scour Twitter. They're not researchers at all.
A bunch of white dudes for Harris.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Indeed. That's probably all it is. Yeah, so when the story broke, I was just like, who cares? Like, I hear stuff like this all the time. You know, so everyone was acting like it was going to be this big deal. But I do have an update. I do have some news for you guys. Let me just check over here with my messages, and then we'll give you some breaking news. 1 second. Just some breaking news over here.
Yeah.
So we have sued the Kamala Harris campaign, as most of you know. If you would like to support our work, go to timcast.com, click Join Us, Become a Member. The Kamala Harris campaign has been served, I believe, actually, some time ago, not that long ago. And let me just make sure I can double-check my notes real quick again. We are expecting a response December 15th, and which is very, very likely.
6 weeks.
This stuff takes a very, very long time, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious as to what happens if Donald Trump wins handily on the 5th and Harris just concedes. I don't know. But going to be another month and a half before we get any more updates. I guess my understanding is that they requested the ability to reply by December. I wonder what that means. I don't know.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Interesting.
But yes, the lawsuit is moving forward as it does. And these things often take years. So we will see what happens.
Lawsuits take forever, and it sucks.
Yep. Indeed, they do.
Can you give a recap on why you're suing them?
The Kamala Harris campaign took a post of me out of context and claimed that I was a Trump operative who supported Donald Trump having extrajudicial authority to round up and execute Democrat voters. They posted a clip.
Classic Tim, always saying those kinds of things.
Absolutely crazy.
Insane.
In the shows with Laura Loomer, I said that if the full context is, if there are Democrats that have committed crimes, and we know some who have, they should be criminally charged. There should be an investigation, evidence, criminal charges. There's got to be real warrants. There's got to be real evidence. And then after the trial, if they're found guilty among a jury of their peers, then they will be sentenced. Laura Loomer then said that the people who committed treason should get the death penalty. Ending the show on that remark, we talked about in the extended after show that I don't believe any of these people actually committed treason, sedition perhaps, but we're talking about like Joe Biden with documents. It's not treason or sedition. That's a document charge. If they're going to charge Trump for it, they're going to charge Biden for it. And so you need legitimate charges. And I went on to say that I don't agree with the death penalty. I believe that that death penalty is wrong. I believe that the current law prescribes a death penalty, and that if someone commits a crime under the current law, they should, under the law, receive what the law prescribes, though I don't agree with what the law prescribes. And for this, I have filed suit because they have made false claims about me. It's actually absolutely insane. And it's the basis for why Sam Cedar will be here tomorrow. Because he made a video where he opened it saying that I said something about people should get the death penalty if they commit crimes or whatever. And it's an absurdity out of context. And I'm just like, either this dude only gets his news from clips he hears, like the 3-second clip, completely out of context. Like I could be quoting someone who's going to claim I said it. And that's the problem with a lot of the stuff. They think it's true. So upon seeing that, I said, okay, Sam, you can come on the show and we'll talk about it. It's going to be tomorrow morning. And we will talk about it. And then he can sit here and I can say, here's exactly what I think. Next question. Here's exactly the issue. And so it is not confusing, but if you read the actual lawsuit, you can see all of the details in our arguments, and we lay it all out. And the Harris campaign knew what they were doing, I think. I think they absolutely knew what they were doing. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I mean, they're so accustomed to just being able to lie about whatever they want. This is why we just saw that ad a little while ago where people were saying, in 7 days, I don't know if I'll be able to own a dog anymore. Things that aren't even political issues and that nobody's talking about. They really feel like they feel entitled, firstly, to say that Donald Trump is the author or person who commissioned Project 2025. And then when he hasn't even read it and has nothing to do with it. And then they will make up all sorts of false allegations about what's in it. So they've just gotten used to being able to flagrantly lie. And then eventually they tell direct lies about people and misrepresent things that they've said. And I really hope that you're able to take them to court and that they lose because they need to learn a lesson for this.
You know, and the establishment is where you hear people complaining the most about misinformation and disinformation. And yet they're every bit or more guilty of spreading falsehoods as any podcaster or anything.
Way more so. Yeah. I name a podcaster who lied us into a war.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Name a podcast that came out and said, we fortified an election.
A podcast?
Yeah. Name anyone in independent media who's done anything like that.
That said we fortified an election?
We fortified an election. That went out and bragged about trying to change the results of an election.
Isn't that where fortified came from?
What?
Leftist podcast?
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is the New York Times, or I'm sorry, Time Magazine, traditional media, literally published an article saying that they went out of their way to have a shadow campaign to save the election.
The fortifying, was that an article, or I thought that
they said
there were a bunch of leftist podcasts.
They said they ran a shadow campaign to fortify the election.
Yeah.
They were calling it fortification. So they talk about misinformation that's spread by podcasts and new media, but they have told far more harmful and consequential lies than anyone in independent media.
Yep. The problem, I mean, this is one of the most obvious things I've ever said, but the problem is the fact that there is new media.
Yeah, they were fortifying it.
Yeah.
There's new media that is, countering the narrative that they want to spin. And because of the internet, podcasts, and social media, they no longer control the narrative the way they did. So, I mean, like I said,
Kamala,
it's obvious, but
if Kamala is saying that Tim supported Project 2025, can we say that she's supporting Project Diddy? There's a lot of weird stuff coming out about Kamala Harris probably being at one of these Diddy parties.
Well, hopefully what we learned from the lawsuit is that she was not allowed to say that about Tim and they lose in court. So I wouldn't want to take her strategy.
I mean, it's wild. But this country's falling apart. And so the sad reality, I think, for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, is the country may have already hit that point. So understand it this way. You're driving in a car on the side of a cliff. You're going very fast. You're sitting in your chair. Everything seems fine. At some point, that car flies off the cliff. You might not notice right away. You're just like sitting there on your phone, not paying attention. Eventually, you start to feel weightlessness, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, we better turn around. At that point, you're already off the cliff. The next stop is just the bottom. So when I think about lawsuits, when I talk to a lawyer and they say, which jurisdiction? I'm like, hey, we're going to sue. And they go, okay, which jurisdiction can we sue in? Because if you sue in this jurisdiction, you lose. If you sue in this one, you win. I'm like, wait, what? I thought there was like a law. Doesn't matter. Was the judge appointed by a Democrat or Republican? What does that matter? Won't they listen? No, they won't. A Democrat judge is going to side with Democrats and corporations. A Republican judge will sign with Trump supporters. That's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. So it's like if you're going to sue and you and someone wronged you, like if someone in New York, for instance, I don't know, committed fraud, like like copyright infringement or something against me, the likelihood that I'd be able to sue them if I went to New York, it's like zero. They just win. New York would be like, we don't know or care who you are. He gets your stuff.
Is there a certain jurisdiction you're suing her in?
It's all in the paperwork. You have to go read it. It's federal, I think. But being in West Virginia, we would sue in West Virginia. And guess what? West Virginia's got a lot of West Virginia judges. So right now, with did you guys hear Jimmy Kimmel saying vote late?
Yep.
Yes, that's what he was. Yep.
Yeah, he actually went on his show and told Trump supporters to vote on the day that's after the election day, without clarifying that the joke was not to vote late, was to vote past, like when you can't vote. You literally can't vote. So people are saying he should get charged, and I agree. A red state needs to go after him right now. Absolutely.
A meme. A guy shared a meme.
Douglas Mackey.
And went to jail over it.
Yep. So there needs to be some red state DA who files charges and says this breaks the law.
I mean, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel has a huge show.
Yep.
How was that? I mean, and they put Douglas Mackey in jail. Was
Some
his
guy
was his
who-
reach even that close to Jimmy Kimmel's? Absolutely not.
Not even remotely close.
What if several thousand people show up at their voting location on Thursday or Friday, like Jimmy Kimmel said, and they're like, "What do you mean I can't vote?" Jimmy Kimmel on his show said we could vote Thursday and Friday. He said it was just you were late doing it, but you could do it, and they're going to be like, "No, he lied."
This will be more of the more evidence that there is a two-tiered justice system in the United States.
Yeah.
If you are a conservative or if you are not a of the preferred political persuasion, the law applies to you differently.
And look, normally I would say it was ridiculous to even talk about going after somebody for a joke like this, but a Republican went to jail for it. A guy literally went to jail for sharing a meme that made effectively the exact same joke. They charged him with election interference.
Indeed, they
7
did.
months in jail.
If there was any justice, it wouldn't be Jimmy Kimmel that was being tried. It would be the people that actually put what's his name, Douglas.
Yeah,
Mackey
so
in jail.
seriously,
they would be tried and put in jail, and there would be repercussions for that kind of violation of his rights.
Yep. That's the whole idea. Yeah, exactly. It's a two-tier system. Two-tier system.
And I don't know that there's anything that we can do to actually restore, Douglas Mackey's. I mean, he was in jail for how long? 7 months, was it? But that's not the worst part of it. The worst part of it is that the efforts to chill free speech, to chill people that would criticize the government. There's a lot of people that would be more critical of the government if it wasn't for the fact that they're afraid of what the government will do.
Yeah. Isn't this wild? In the Time magazine article about the shadow campaign, their words, there's a photo of Trump supporters looking through the windows and them covering it so they can't see inside, which makes literally no sense. And it says Trump supporters seek to disrupt the vote count. It's like, bro, they're looking through clear windows. Why are you? Yeah, right.
Is this quantum physics? Does observing it change the outcome?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Schrodinger's vote.
So what I'm hearing now is that people are saying the Republicans are on top of things. Since then, Republicans have been filing lawsuits and been engaging in, counter lawfare and things like that.
Yeah, the Supreme Court sided with Virginia. Did you see that?
Yeah, to remove non-citizens.
It's crazy because lefties, you'd imagine, would have the sense to say it's going to be really bad optics if we complain about illegals and non-citizens being removed from voter rolls, but they're still doing it. They're going, what's election interference to remove an illegal immigrant from voter rolls? But also they don't vote. But it's election interference to stop them from voting.
They're constantly saying what it is. It's to get rid of people that are actually legally allowed to vote, and which is just ridiculous. This law in Virginia, it was a Democrat was in office when it was put into effect, and the last time that they used it to clean up the voter rolls, it was a Democrat that was in the governor's office. So it's all just a narrative that they're trying to spin about conservatives. It has nothing to do with the reality of the situation, which is typical, but that's the situation that's going on now in Virginia.
Yeah, no, well, look, I mean, I'm glad we're on top of it. Let's hope we're on top of it enough. We're not going to know till after the election if we see all sorts of abnormalities that people didn't catch beforehand. It's very disheartening.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think? You work in government, right?
Man, it is so close. It is going to be.
Is it really close, or is that just what the polls are saying?
I don't know. Intuitively, I think it's close. I think it's close.
Every single vote is the deciding vote. Like people are going to sit there and be like, my vote doesn't matter, and it's going to be like Kamala won by 1.
That's true. Boys, get out and vote. Men are not voting as much as they need to. Men need to get out and vote if Trump's going to win. We really do. Men have not been turning out in large enough numbers.
Of the few pollsters, Dave Wasserman on Twitter, I think in the past from 2016 to now, his tweets that were previewing election day a few days before the election. 2016, he said it was leaning Trump. 2020, he said it was leaning Biden. I think he just put out a tweet, quote tweeting those same tweets, and said it's going to be close. He doesn't know either way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I mean, the vibe check is Trump.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely leaning Trump, but you never know what's going to happen. You really never know what's going to happen.
Anna
Men can
Kasparian
fail
is
to get out and
defending
vote.
Trump.
Well, that's because Anna Kasparian's a woman and women vote, apparently, but men don't. Boys got to get out there. Got to vote.
Yeah, well, Seamus, guess who? You know what other group doesn't vote?
Who?
Catholics.
Well, unfortunately, when Catholics do vote, they vote for people who are like in favor of things that are totally in opposition to church teaching. It's crazy.
Catholics for Trump right here. We need to get our evangelicals, our Protestants,
Christians.
Trump is far from. Listen, Trump. There's definitely flaws with his candidacy. There's problems with it from a Christian perspective, but without question, Harris's is worse. Kamala Harris's platform is infinitely worse than Donald Trump's. It's not even close. It's not even remotely close.
That's crazy, man.
There's a funny story that Congressman Gates told me, and he says it sometimes on the campaign trail. I think he was in Iowa or New Hampshire when it was in the very early primary days when Nikki Haley and DeSantis were still in the race, and he went to a coffee shop, and there was a waitress there who recognized Matt Gaetz and was like, she was so hyped, and she was like, "Matt, can I take a photo with you?" Obviously he said yes, and she was like, "Man, my boyfriend's gonna be so jealous that he wasn't working today." And Matt said he was like, when she was initially asking for the photo, she was like, he was like, "I will take a photo with you if you get your boyfriend out to come vote for Trump." And she tells Matt Gaetz, she's like, "Not only am I going to get my boyfriend out to vote for Donald Trump, I'm going to get all of my ex-boyfriends to come out and vote for Donald Trump." So it's very important this election. You should also go not just to your best friends, but to your exes and your family and everyone. Get them all out to vote.
Hold on, it depends on who your ex is and why you broke up. Like
it's too important.
No, because you might tell her like, "Listen, you got to vote for Trump," and she's like, "Well, then I'm voting for Harris. Then I am voting for Harris." It really does depend.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because what you do is, if you have like an ex who really hates you, you text her and being like, "I bet you're one of those Trumpsters. Well, I'm voting Harris, so we can stop people like you." And then she'll be like, "I'm voting for Trump now."
And strategically look at your past, and if you have any good.
All right, everybody, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Leave us a good review on the audio podcasts. It would be hilarious if every review on the iTunes review was like, "This is the greatest show." Everyone agrees. At least that's what I've been told. And then go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. That members only show is going to come up, and Seamus promised to say something naughty.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was like,
No.
I'm going to say bad words.
No, I didn't.
He did, yeah.
No?
Very bad words.
Maybe. All right. Well, you talk to me. Let's see. I didn't after the show. Maybe.
And then I've got a naughty joke to share with you guys. I'm not allowed to share it on YouTube, but I can share it on the members only. It's a very.
How bad is it?
No, it's not bad at all.
One you've told me before. Would I know
no, it's not. It's not bad at all. It's just it's like it's going to trigger the left quite a bit, and it's going to reshape culture in a way that's going to make the left very angry.
I hope they don't watch.
But we'll save it. We'll save it, and I'll tell you on the members only. And it's actually I think it's actually pretty fun. So, but what were your super chats first? Polly Pure Races, am I first? You are, Polly. You've done it. You are first. Congratulations. Jason Dixon says first. I win, and then he says nope. Indeed not, sir. YouTube just crashed. He says, damn it, second, third. All right. The Clayway says, Tim, you think Rogan Vance interview was better than Trump's? Trump's going to go, you did good, but I had more views. I do think, I only saw the first 15 minutes, and it's way better. It's just way better.
Mm-hmm.
The Trump interview is interesting to see Trump, but the J.D. Vance one's genuinely like, I'm in the first 15 minutes, and I was like, wow, I need to watch this.
I want to know the joke that his kid told Trump.
I know. Yeah. So he said, like, when he got the call, oh, this is such a good story. He was like, yeah, so I got a call from Trump. He asked me to be his VP. And Rogan's like, oh, is that how it went? And then JD's like, well, no, actually, I missed the call. Like, it's a bit more to that. And then I get a call from a staffer saying, you just missed a very important call. So my agent went straight to voicemail. I was like, I called the president. And Trump goes, I'm sorry, JD, you missed a very important call. I'm going to have to pick somebody else. Trump's a funny guy. And then Trump heard his 7-year-old son talking. And he's like, who's that? He's like, it's my son. He's like, put him on the phone. And then he gives the phone to his kid. And then Trump reads the statement to the kid instead. Very good.
This is, what do you think? The kid's like, it's all right.
Yeah.
The Trump interview was great. It was cool to see like these two dynamic guys finally in the same room together. But I feel like I learned a lot more about JD Vance in this new interview. I feel like I really didn't know him that well beforehand, but you really do get to learn a lot about JD in this interview.
I haven't seen the full JD Vance interview. Did you watch it?
I watched the majority of it.
Did he really say that Emily in Paris is a masterpiece?
You did.
He did. He first called it a dumb thing. Like he's like, I was looking for something stupid to watch on Netflix, and he's like, wait, let me go back. Emily in Paris is a masterpiece, and the women loved it on X.
Oh, really? But was he like saying that jokingly because he didn't want to?
It sounded like he liked the show. It sounded like, as far as I could tell, it sounded like.
My understanding is that Emily in Paris is just like the fictional version of Married to Strangers. Like, you know, women love that show, Married to Strangers.
I've never watched it.
You know, like there's like a bunch of different versions of it where like just women marry strangers.
Bad
Women
idea.
Love that.
Bad idea. Don't do that.
What they do, they love that show.
Mhm.
And then I like Emily in Paris is basically the same thing, but like a fictional version.
But you know, to be fair, I've never married a stranger. How could I tell people it's a bad idea? Who knows? Maybe it's good. I've never done it. You know, I've never actually done it.
What is Emily in Paris about?
A girl named
Is it like 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Women loved that book.
Well, some of them did for sure. I mean, it's literally just pornography.
Yeah, but it was written word, you know?
It was written word, so I guess it doesn't count. It still counts. Don't read it.
Didn't they do like a bunch of movies or something?
I'm pretty sure they did a film. So again, also that's literally just porn.
Did you know? Did you know that it was originally Twilight fan fiction?
That's right. I did know that.
It was about
That's insane.
Bella and what's the guy's name? Edward Cullen.
You know what? Here's the thing. We need to start calling women perverts more often. Because if you write a Twilight fan fiction that is so gross that it ends up turning into a BDSM porn novel, you're a pervert. You're a pervert.
Erotica.
Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. We call it a fancier word, so now it's not gross. It's porn. This woman wrote a best-selling article of porn. I don't even want to call it a porn book. I guess it is a book. She wrote porn. She made a lot of money writing it. She's a perv. People are into it. They're pervs.
I love reading those jokes on Twitter where it's like, you know, men are gooners. And,
oh my God.
But women are reading erotica, so what does that make them?
That's super gross. It's super gross.
All right. Zarosfer says, "Hi, Tim. Could you share my give, send, go? I'm caring for a childhood friend after her 3 kids, one with autism, and their father left. I've taken on debt to support them and given up so much to help. But I see them as family, even if not blood. I think the link is in IRL live Discord." All right. Right on. Shout out. I don't have the link, but good luck, sir. Frankenkug says, "Congratulations on the baby. Interested to hear your perspective 1 to 2 years post-baby. My kids changed mine. It's only right that you super chat in from the delivery room." Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I might have to, but we'll see. We'll see. I already have, it will be interesting to see how my thoughts and opinions change, but I've already got great plans for my chess playing poker champion ninja daughter. So, you know, we're going to be great. And then, you know, in 20 years, she'll look back at these videos. Here's the weirdest thing. Okay, this is not true for most people, but my kid is going to be able to watch every effing day of my thoughts. That's like a weird thing.
That is kind of a crazy thing, though. That record will exist.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be like, I'll be saying to her, I'll be like, if you want to know what I was thinking in like what happened in 2019 with Trump, I'm like, there's literally 300 videos you can watch every day tracking the news and my thoughts on the matter.
I hope she doesn't find
and my weight fluctuations.
I hope she doesn't find that video where you're like, if I have a daughter, I'll be so mad. My child better be a boy.
Oh, I hope not.
Someone in the chat says that they bet I have moobs.
Oh man,
moobs. Do I give up that impression that I'm overweight to the point of having man boobs? That's what I was just accused of.
We
in
do
chat.
have.
Can you believe it? This internet needs to be regulated. There are people in chat suggesting that I have moobs.
You have the silicone muscle suit. You should wear that. You will sweat your ass off.
They just like to insult.
I should do that.
They just like to insult.
And then for Cass Castle, we got the big fake boobs, and someone bought a pregnancy belly for some reason.
Someone bought a pregnancy belly?
Yeah, it's just sitting on a chair at the castle. I don't know why.
It's because men need to develop some kind of empathy for what women go through, Tim.
Sure.
You need to wear the pregnancy belly. Gotta wear the pregnancy belly. I should.
Let's go grab it.
Just see what it's like.
Grab it on the way to Nashville, and then we'll have you on the show. And
then I'll be able to say I understand women. Whenever a woman talks about being pregnant, I'll be like, I know. I've been there. I understand. Me and my moobs and my pregnancy belly. I get it.
To Be Better says, check out the To Be Better podcast. Curious if this will get read live. LOL. It sure did, buddy. $100 well spent. Appreciate the super chat.
There you go.
I always tell people, like, probably one of the most effective ways to get an ad read is not necessarily just buying a sponsor spot, but crossing your fingers that you do a big super chat and then we get to it. I can't read everybody's, you know. All right. Freddie says, vote for the boys. Grabs American flag and swords and runs for the door screaming. The boys.
Boys, boys, boys.
Boys. Yeah, Ryan Long's a funny guy.
He's hilarious. It's always great to have him on.
Beavis McLean says, fact check. CNN is okay with their contributors eating human brains, but they are not okay with their contributors making dark humor jokes. But yeah, Reza Aslan ate human brain. Isn't that crazy?
It's nuts.
They were trying to be edgy, you know.
And he wanted to punch the MAGA kid.
Yeah,
the MAGA hat.
But the story was that this is back during the Vice era, where Vice was doing all these edgy shows, and CNN was trying to do it. Everybody wanted to do it. They're like, how do we make these fun, exciting travel adventures like Vice is doing? They're getting so many views, and they still don't get it. So they had Reza Aslan go and meet with this sect of Hindu cannibals, and then they were like, eat the brain, and he was like, I don't want it. And they were like, eat it, and he was like, ugh. They didn't say it in English, of course, but then he ate the brain.
But this is also...
He's a cannibal.
Yeah, I mean, this is another great example of how depraved traditional media is, because for as wild as YouTubers and TikTokers have gotten in terms of doing insane things to get views, like, they're not eating human flesh.
That's crazy,
right?
dude.
Like,
I think he went nuts
CNN
from it.
saw that people got a little...
I think he went nuts from it. Because he was like, before this era, he was considered like a stoic scholar, like a religious scholar who would calmly discuss these things. Now he's like foaming at the mouth, fervent, saying he's going to punch little kids.
Well, if you eat someone's brain, you get their mental illness.
Or you get prion disease, or you get encephalopathy, what is it called?
Yeah.
Shakes. Remember in the Book of Eli?
How much does it take?
You ever see Book of Eli?
Yeah.
Bro, and they're like, hold your hands up, and he's got to hold it, and if you're shaking, they're like, you're a cannibal.
How much does it take in order for that to happen? Can that happen just from one bite? Because Joe Biden bit a baby.
Whoa.
So maybe he's got... No, but seriously, how much does a person have to eat before?
Well, I don't know exactly what causes the shakes, how that happens. But, you know, like mad cow disease, and the cows eating other cows.
Yep.
And then it's like prion disease where the proteins fold and then cause a breakdown, and then you just die. That's crazy.
Gross.
That's crazy, man.
It's terrifying.
All right. Freddie says, someone please make the meme of Mel Gibson's William Wallace. Instead of screaming freedom, it says go vote. Just saying.
Get out and vote, boys.
Yes, get out and vote.
Just because I'm free says, remember the 5th of November. If you seek as I seek, if you feel as I feel, then it's not about winning or losing. It's about making your voice heard. I was so excited that the election day fell on November 5th because I said that in one of my videos the other day. Because you know the line.
Yep.
If you see as I see, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to join me. Not at Parliament, at your voting booth, November 5th, and vote for Donald Trump.
You have to get out and vote.
You should be... Oh. There's like some dude sitting in his basement eating Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew and being like, who cares? I don't need to vote.
Oh, God. I mean, we've been saying it like for the past couple weeks at the very least. Like it cannot be overstated how important it is for you to go out and vote, because women have the propensity to vote more than men, and it is more likely that women are going to vote for Kamala Harris. That is probably going to be the deciding factor. The deciding factor will likely be if men get out and vote. If men go out and vote, Donald Trump will likely win. If men stay home and they don't get out and vote and they can't be bothered, then Kamala Harris will likely win. And if Kamala Harris wins, that will be a terrible, terrible 4 years. And it possibly could be the end of, we could end up in a one-party system like California.
RT says, did I get too political? My bad. I just don't want a girl in a well to crawl through my TV in 7 days.
That's what... That's actually hilarious.
You should make this, bro.
Yeah, just a bunch of insane, am I getting too political? Am I getting... No, honestly.
It's all just movie references. I just don't want to go to sleep and have a guy with knives for fingers kill me in my dreams.
It's fitting for
What was that? The movie where the ghost was just like,
The Grudge.
Oh yeah.
That terrified me, dude. I saw that when I was in 4th grade, and it horrified me so badly. That terrified. Really? Yeah. I mean, listen, I was 10. Okay. But
yeah, I've not seen a real scary movie in a long time. Mm-hmm. The Innkeepers, is that the movie? Is that a movie? I could be wrong.
No, we watched a really scary movie a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Do you remember?
For sale. There's a movie, I think it's called The Innkeepers, I could be wrong, where it's about this like inn is closing down. And then it's actually really good. It's like from 2012, and it was like an indie film. And I don't know if that's what the movie is called, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe you check that one out. I mentioned this before, and I think someone gave me that name. But that was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was like overtly scary, but I thought it was pretty good in that it's like, yeah, I don't know. Because most scary movies, like they're zombies, they're coming. There's nothing scary about zombies, dude.
No.
It's just general conflict.
Well, and my thing is, it's just like, when it comes to horror, I feel the same way about horror as I do comedy in the sense where, like, if your punchline is bodily fluids, you haven't written something good.
Right.
When it's like, then a guy got stabbed and there was blood everywhere. It's like, that's not scary, man. It's just gross.
All right, I got it. I'm going to write you a horror movie, Seamus. Okay, it's about a mom and her son, and they move to a new town, and the house is
Oh man. Let's make it.
That's every single horror movie right now.
I know. Well, and that's why there's certain shows and movies that we still cherish. Like, people are still really into the Twilight Zone. And in part, it's because it wasn't relying on cheap jump scares or cheap jump scares or gore. It was really just trying to create a frightening scenario. To be fair, a lot of Twilight Zone stuff, it can kind of get repetitive, but still, there's effort put in. It's not just like, wouldn't that be scary if you got stabbed? It's like,
they're eating the dogs, they're eating the babies. K. Spencer Jones says they're eating the babies, they're eating the cats.
Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Biting the babies. That's just so wild. Alex says Biden can no longer contain himself. Sniffing just doesn't do it for him anymore.
I didn't sniff all this time to never eat, man.
All right. Paul Tascalo says the video on acts of a Haitian migrant claiming he got to the U.S. 6 months ago, already has citizenship, and just voted for Kamala in Gwinnett County, GA, must be investigated. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what happens to this place. God, you know, it really is true that Christians and men vote in low numbers relative to other groups. This is why the country's where it's at. There you go.
Get out there and vote, boys.
Well, a majority Christian nation that is slowly becoming not a majority Christian nation has only itself to blame.
Even if people say that they're Christian, I don't think we're a majority Christian nation anymore. I don't think there are no majority practicing Christians.
Well, I mean, our president's a Catholic, so.
Well, yeah.
And that's why he got Roe v. Wade overturned.
That's right.
It got overturned under Biden's watch because he's Catholic.
That's right. Biden did it all.
Biden did the whole thing.
Yeah. All right. Gitch says, I don't mean to get too political, but what is oatmeal?
I don't mean to get too political here.
Hey, Merrick says, congratulations, Tim, on a step towards replacement. Fixing count is easy. Paper ballots and a camera over every count. Live stream and record it. At any moment, thousands of people could be watching. Yes, but privacy. When I did my ballot, they had the big, long sheet. Did you guys have this one? And then they have like a gray plastic thing, and you put the white sheet in and it covers it up. And then you stick it in upside down into a machine that eats it. And then they're like, you're good. You voted.
No, I gave mine to my town clerk, and she took care of it for me.
What if she went like this?
She's
threw it away.
I trust her. Her name's Kim. My town, there's like 4,000 people in my town. Like, everybody kind of knows each other. So
that's based.
Yeah, it's great.
Noah Price says, I take Zoloft for PTSD. Should I not be able to vote?
I think there are, like I said, there are situations where you have people who have some kind of mental illness for reasons that they aren't to blame for. But I think when you have these people who go out and boast about their mental illnesses and they talk about the fact that they take these pills in a trendy kind of way, it's a massive red flag to me.
The point is they want the social credit. You know, they want they want the points, the virtue points. You have something you're struggling with, and you're somehow a victim, so you get social kudos.
Yeah, and like having, PTSD, and there's people I know have PTSD from things that are genuinely traumatic, or people who have it from serving our country or taking medication for it. That's obviously well and good. But then you'll have people who will literally claim that they got like PTSD from Twitter and stuff, where you're like, okay, if you claim that and you want to get medicated for it, then like, yeah, you're not someone who I trust to make decisions.
Many people are asking when I'm getting married. I am. I will not give you the dates. So it would have already happened if not for just like I don't know, bureaucracy, I guess. It is what it is. Would have been a long time ago if not for work. Mr. That One Guy says, Seamus, you don't watch anime? What about the official Catholic anime girl named Luce? Is that how you say it?
I've seen this.
Is it Luce?
Yeah,
You shame the official Catholic anime girl and anime girl?
I've seen that. I've been so busy with election stuff, I haven't looked into it too much, but there have been some like hilarious memes of her burning heretics. It's just
Burning heretics?
this like little, I guess it's this little, listen, from what I have seen, and again, I haven't paid much attention to it, but it's this little mascot that like the Vatican made to appeal to the popular culture, and it's been relatively controversial, but I think the memes have been hilarious.
Can we like reskin the game Heretic to make it a Catholic going after the heretics? You ever play that game?
Good.
No.
It's basically when Doom came out, you had like Wolfenstein, Doom. There were a couple other games. One of them was called Heretic, where it's basically Doom but it's reskinned. It's like the same game.
So what happens in it?
You're like a wizard going around blasting people with magic.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't like
I'm saying
that.
we got to reskin it so it's like a Catholic.
It should be a crusader. So, yeah.
I mean, I could very easily make a Crusader platform game that would get banned on Steam.
100%. 100%.
So behind me, this second row of magic cards is the racism collection. And this card right here that my finger's over is called Crusade. It says all white creatures get +1/+1, and it's banned for being racist. And then over here, you have Jihad. And I think Jihad says creatures of the color of your choice get like +2/+1 or something. Basically what that means is the Crusade says all of your white creatures are 1 point stronger and 1 point more life. And they were like, nope, that card's banned. And it's like not even that good anyway. I guess back in the day it was. But white doesn't mean Caucasian. It means like white magic. So it's like Gandalf the White being banned for being white. You know what I mean?
Should be.
And can we talk about how racist it is that he was gray and not brown?
It's also true.
They called him Gandalf the Grey. It's like, well, dude, if he's mixed, he's brown, isn't he?
Didn't they have in the Rings of Power, they like...
Yeah, they were blue and brown wizards.
Yeah, exactly.
They canceled that show because it was trash.
Is that why? I thought it was because of racism. Well, they did this weird thing where in the Lord of the Rings films, I believe you only had white people, right? And then what happens is when you start adding in black characters into the prequel is you create like a canon where something happened where they
genocided.
Yeah, which seems like a weird, deranged thing to have in Tolkien's universe.
So it's like, yeah, if you follow the natural timeline of the Rings of Power to Lord of the Rings, there was a period where there was great diversity, and then later on it's just only white people.
What happened in Middle Earth?
That's why they're fighting Sauron, dude. Also, they did this thing where they tried to make orcs like human.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah, in Lord of the Rings, orcs are Sauron and the Mordor or whatever kidnap elves, then torture them for years and twist them into disgusting monsters, and they're just all men. And then in the show, there's like orcs with wives and children.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, what?
Well, do you remember a while ago?
They were legitimately written to just be evil monsters.
That's the whole point. But we live in this society where we're actually extremely uncomfortable with the idea that some people are bad and do bad things. And so what we have to do is create these really boring, morally gray stories where we can't point to anyone as bad. It's like, dude, sometimes that can work as a story, but it's also still entertaining to have stories where there are just obvious good guys and obvious bad guys. That's also enjoyable. People also like to see that. That also speaks to us.
Simple stories are good sometimes.
Exactly. And often
we have a song coming out at midnight.
Oh yeah,
Hunger Inside. It is quite based. It is the music video is about a chicken fighting aliens.
It's pretty based. I saw it.
Yeah, it's chickens are fighting aliens. Is Carter planning on doing anything? I don't know, because like last time we did Carter was in the Discord or something like that.
You guys posted it on Timcast Music?
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube, Timcast Music, hungerinside.com. You can pre-order it. And this is like a dancey, upbeat song, which is about zombies, nothing else.
It's a
nothing
cool tune.
else at all.
It is very, very catchy, and it is very dancey. It's significantly different than most of the other stuff. So
yeah, and it's a chicken fights aliens. So I encourage everybody to watch it when it comes out on YouTube. Maybe I should post it or something. All right, what do we got here? We got more super chats. Chris Lewis says, all the fellas remember the 5th of November. Yeah. We're going to have to make our own version of it.
We're going to be on a watch list for repeating that.
What do you mean? You know, it's funny. Like, do you know what the 5th of November was about, Seamus?
Yeah, he was actually trying to instill a Catholic theocracy.
Ah, I know. You're
Guy
excited.
Fawkes wanted a Catholic theocracy. That's right. And you have all these like Reddit atheists wearing a mask of his face. I'm like, all right, cool.
All right. Yeah. CJ Hansen says, I figured it out. Those psycho nonsense I'm sorry people are all IRS bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Akane says, I plan on voting for Trump, but why is it important to vote early as opposed to voting on Election Day? Please explain. Because you may show up to your polling location on Election Day and they go, oh, a pipe burst, so you can't vote today. Sorry, it's the only day available. Guess you should have voted early. And then you're going to go, holy crap, I should have voted early. Or it's going to be like Kerry Lake in Maricopa, and they're going to go, for whatever reason, 200 ballot machines have the wrong printed paper, so sorry, you can't vote. You're going to have to vote by provisional ballot and put it in a box somewhere, and then half the people leave or whatever. So you vote early to make sure you get it done, get it out of the way. And you also decentralize the process, making it harder to cheat. Mm-hmm. I don't like early voting. I don't like mail-in voting. But as long as we have this system, it is better to decentralize the process. Mm-hmm. If all Trump supporters voted on Election Day, which they count on, it's easy for one crazy person to take one box and go, this box is going to be 80% Trump, throw it in the garbage.
Yeah. Yep. Get out and vote, boys.
If everybody voted early, they'd be like, we don't know which ones are which. They could actually, here's the other thing too. Let's say they go, hey, we found a big thing of mail-in votes. Today, they're going to go, it could be more Republican. What do we do? Oof. If we bring this one in, it could end up being 51% Republican because Republicans voted early. Mm-hmm. That's why you got to mix it up. Mix them up. All right, everybody, smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Become a member at timcast.com to join that Discord server and find friends. They'll be friends with you. They'll say, wow, new friend, how come you didn't join earlier? We love you. You're the greatest. So go to timcast.com if you want to feel that way. And we got that members-only show coming up in about a minute or so. And I've got a naughty joke for you. But it's okay. It's not that bad. But it is funny, and I'm very proud. So, again, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. HungerInside.com. At midnight, the song drops on YouTube, Timcast Music, where a chicken fights aliens. And it's a Halloween special. There's zombies in it, too, and, whatever. Yeah. Joel, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, I mean, guys, we got to get out and vote. If you live in Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, Nevada, it's going to be critically important that you guys get out to vote. So if you can vote early, go ahead and do it. If not, get your butts to the poll on Election Day. Make sure we get it, bring it home for Donald Trump. If you want to follow me at Real Joel Valdez. I'm primarily on X, Instagram, and TikTok. I post behind-the-scenes content of me on Capitol Hill and at Trump rallies and, traveling across the nation with Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz. So thanks, Tim, again, for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Amazing. I'm Seamus Coughlin. All I have to promote right now, besides getting off your butt and voting, young men, is Freedom Tunes. If you want to help us continue to do what we're doing, become a member at freedomtunes.com. You'll be helping to create more art and culture that isn't being produced by the left. Go over to Freedom Tunes, watch our newest video. I think you guys are going to crack up. I think you're going to like it.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Deezer. You can check out our new videos for No Tomorrow, Let You Go, and Divine. All are available on the old YouTube. Get out and vote, and don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see all of you over at timcast.com in about 1 minute. Thanks for hanging out.